Barkley came to Phoenix this year and made a perennially good team a strong championship contender. The Suns had the best record in the NBA, 62 victories in the regular season. And for the first time in his career, Barkley was the league's MVP. But now, in this third-round series against Seattle, Charles is averaging just 17 points per game, while shooting barely over 40% from the field. Still, the Suns lead the series 2-1, because this is a deep and talented team, led by, but not exclusively dependent upon, its top star. The Suns are a rare blend of veterans like Dan Majerle, Kevin Johnson, Danny Ainge, Tom Chambers, and Frankie Johnson, plus a group of talented youngsters who don't seem fazed by the NBA playoffs. Oliver Miller, Cedric Ceballos, Richard Dumas. For the last few games, the supporting cast has picked up a lot of the slack for Sir Charles. But the NBA Finals are now only 2 Phoenix victories away. Time for Barkley to reassert himself. Game 4 coming up.
This is NBA Showtime with your host, Bob Costas.
And this is the Seattle Coliseum, site of Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals between the Suns and the SuperSonics. Obviously a pivotal game for Seattle. They can't afford to lose and go down 3-1 heading to Phoenix for Game 5. Hi, everybody. Bob Costas along with Quinn Buckner. The Insiders, Peter Vesey and Bill Walton, will be here for the Insiders Draft in the next segment. What do you think about this Game 4?
Well, in this game, and I'm Charles Barkley, as the leader of the team, I'm trying to implore my team to try to get this victory so we can go up 3-1 and let Chicago and New York battle each other so we get to the championship series playing a tired team.
Yeah, because obviously Phoenix will have the home floor advantage against anybody, Chicago or New York, if they make it to the final. Games 1 and 2, 6 and 7, if it went that far, would be in Phoenix, and either Chicago or New York would host the middle 3. So they would really be in position in terms of rest and not having to travel at the beginning of the playoffs if they can end it earlier. Now, Phoenix, as we alluded to earlier, has gotten big contributions from 10 players in these playoffs. Seattle has been the Jekyll and Hyde team of this postseason. For a quick preview, we check in with Dick Enberg and Magic Johnson. Dick?
All right, Bob, a real expert with me in Magic Johnson, a man who started every game from elementary school on. But the depth of the Phoenix Suns has been critical in the first 3 games of this series. And here, graphically, to illustrate that, the Suns 37 points from the bench to 21, a 16-point differential, and really dramatic on Friday night Game 3 when they outscored Seattle 45-11. Those are huge numbers.
Yeah, they are. And right now, what's happening to Seattle, Eddie Johnson is struggling. In regular season, he averaged 15 points, but in this series, he's only averaging 3 points a game. But I know Eddie, if he gets hot, he can change the whole game plan of the Seattle SuperSonics.
And Johnson was the first man on this court early this morning. He must have shot about 45 minutes trying to find that long-range jumper. Now let's look at the Phoenix Suns, that second 5. Hey, that's not a bad starting lineup.
Well, if I was a coach, I'd take him any day. Look here, you got a former All-Star in Tom Chambers. Danny Ainge has won championships, and then any other guys have been starters during the regular season at some point or another.
And the rookie Oliver Miller has been brilliant throughout the playoffs. And Frank Johnson, how about him? He seemed to be deep on the bench, but boy, did Seattle find out about him in Game 3.
Well, here's a guy who's not supposed to be here. He applied for the Minnesota scouting job earlier this season, and then they said no. Kevin Johnson gets hurt. They called him in, and he's been a Phoenix Sun, and he has a chance maybe to win a championship.
Now, this is a little loaded on the Johnson side. You got Kevin Johnson, you got Frank Johnson, you talked about Eddie Johnson, Magic Johnson. Where does Sir Charles come in, they say here in Seattle? Well, on Friday night, the fans were on Charles Barkley's case. They were chanting something like Barkley's inhalation process. And you watch Charles as he answers by making the free throw. Go ahead, give it to me. Get on my case. Well, the NBC man on the Barkley case is Steve Snapper Jones.
Well, thank you, Dick. You know, on Friday night, George Karl felt that this crowd and this building would be the sixth man. Charles Barkley also sensed that Karl and the Seattle crowd was up to something. He had other ideas about that.
I think what happened the other night was I was trying to take the crowd out the game and get them concentrating on me and not concentrating on the game. And I think it worked to perfection because they spent so much time harassing me. I think the other players on our team were able to relax and just go out and play.
The Phoenix Suns, of course, and Charles Barkley are always trying to devise ways to keep pressure off them. Bob, have you figured out a way to keep pressure off your team?
No, that is a hopeless quest, but thank you, Snapper. Shifting to the Eastern Conference Final, the Knicks lead the Bulls 2-1 after Chicago won by 20 yesterday. Game 4 is tomorrow, of course, at Chicago Stadium. A short while ago, I talked with the Knicks' Doc Rivers and asked him if the way the Knicks lost yesterday makes any difference.
I don't know. I think you think about it more. I think you think about it anyway. So I don't know if a 1-point loss or a 20-point loss matters. Some people say they'd rather lose by 20. I always say I'd rather, if I'm going to lose, which I never want to, I'd rather it be by 1.
What are your candid thoughts about John Starks and his inability on occasions to control himself?
Oh, I love him. You know, John Starks is a competitor. He has a heart of a lion, and, you know, he goes off every once in a while, but I'll take that because he's there for you most of the time, and he's there for you more than he's not. So you just got to live with that, and I'll take it every time.
When he's gotten out of line in the past, we've seen Ewing and Oakley and Riley and you in his face, the veteran guys and the coach. What's said in moments like that?
Well, you know, yesterday I grabbed him off the floor. I didn't realize that he was thrown out of the game. I was more concerned about Monday. I said, John, this game is over. We're going to lose this game, and let's worry about Monday. Get off the court. I didn't want any repercussions where they would end up fining him or suspending him or something like that. That's the only reason I grabbed him, because I wanted him to emotionally and everything just get his body off that court.
How many surgeries are you scheduled for when this is finally all over with?
I'm probably going to wait till I retire, and then I can get a face like Ahmad Rashad or somebody like that.
so you're thinking cosmetic surgery as well as arthroscopic surgery.
Exactly.
Good luck tomorrow, Doc. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So Doc Rivers in an upbeat frame of mind despite yesterday's loss. We'll talk with other Knicks and Bulls at halftime, but Michael Jordan will not be among them. He continues to refrain from speaking to the press, not happy about what happened last week and all the coverage of that trip to Atlantic City. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about the Insiders Draft. Not too late for you to jump in if you want to and reveal who the Mavericks really are going to take.
No, I'm going to pass.
All right, he backs off, so it'll be these two guys with their version of the first 12 picks of the draft when we come back in a moment. Insiders mock draft, with the emphasis on the mock. The real draft takes place about a month from now, June 30th, at the Palace of Auburn Hills. You'll notice Quinn Buckner is not part of the mix here because shortly he goes on to a real job as the coach of the Dallas Mavericks and will be involved in the actual draft and doesn't wish to tip his hand. So taking his place in the rotation is Magic Johnson, who will be working the game in Seattle between the Suns and Sonics coming up in a moment. We've arbitrarily assigned positions. Keep in mind that there are cap considerations and the possibility of trades, but we'll proceed here as if the draft order will not change between now and June 30th. Orlando has the first pick, and it's appropriate that for the Magic will make the selection. Go ahead.
I take Chris Webber from Michigan.
Not a surprise, and that brings us to the Philadelphia 76ers in the number 2 spot, Bill Walton.
I'd also like to take Chris Webber, but he's gone. I'm going to take Shawn Bradley. Get rid of all my other front court guys except Weatherspoon. The back court is set. Philadelphia is back in it with Shawn Bradley.
Well, that brings us to the Golden State Warriors, and obviously Don Nelson is going to be frantically trying to work a trade either with Orlando or with Philly so he can move up and take Shawn Bradley. But assuming that Weber's taken and Bradley's taken, I guess the best move is to take Jamal Mashburn and maneuver from there. That brings us to the Dallas Mavericks, and Peter has the choice.
Well, I think everybody expects Dallas to take Anthony Hardaway and go with that Jimmy Jackson-Hardaway backcourt, but I think I can get a point guard, a young point guard with Derek Harper from a playoff team. So I'm going to take Rodney Rogers at number 4.
The wide body out of Wake Forest, Rodney Rogers, gets the call. All right, back to Magic for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dallas, Minnesota, and Washington, 4, 5, and 6. 3 worst records in the league. The lottery wasn't kind. Minnesota, go ahead, Magic.
Well, I've got Laettner at my power forward slot. I got a pretty good backcourt, so I don't need Hardaway. I think I'll probably go with Calbert Chaney. Give me somebody who can break somebody down off the dribble, make his own shot.
All right,
I go with Chaney.
Collegiate Player of the Year out of Indiana, Calbert Chaney to Minnesota. On to the Bullets, Mr. Walton.
If you guys and Magic too are going to keep taking those guys and passing on Hardaway, you better keep your day jobs. Even though I'm set in the backcourt with Michael Adams and Chapman and LeBradford Smith, I'm taking Anthony Hardaway as the point guard and try to get rid of some of these guys who I've already got.
You think you're set with those guards you got? You better take Hardaway.
All right, on to Sacramento. Now, if you had made the mistake of passing on Hardaway, Bill, I was going to take Anthony Hardaway for Sacramento. Now J.R. Rider is still there, but I'm going to pass on him and make the most controversial choice to this point. Spud Webb is ready for a bench role. I need a point guard in Sacramento. I'm taking Bobby Hurley out of Duke with the 7th pick. Milwaukee Bucks are 8th. Pete?
Milwaukee Bucks. And everybody was laughing at Mike Dunleavy when he offered his lottery pick for Vlade Divac and almost had him if Jimmy Jackson wanted to go to the Lakers, which he turned down. He wants a big guy at this slot, but J.R. Rider is still available. Billy Cunningham and Jerry West say this is the best player in the draft. I'm taking J.R. Rider instead of going big.
Don't go anywhere because we've maneuvered this draft around so that Magic gets to pick for the Lakers in the 12th spot, which means you have to pick out of order, so you get Denver in the 9th slot.
Well, I don't think Denver ever figured that Vin Baker would fall this low. They need size, so I say they go for Vin Baker.
All right, now Detroit has both the 10th and the 11th choices because of the John Sally deal, so taking for them in the 10th spot, Bill Walton.
Detroit needs front court help. They're set in the backcourt with Isaiah and Dumars. Rodman, he'll be traded. Lane Beers at the end. They need scoring, defense, passing. They need a whole package. A.C. Earl is the guy for Detroit in the 10th spot.
All right, now it's pretty sure that Detroit is going to make some kind of deal with one of these picks, 10th or 11th, but assuming for the purposes of this draft that they don't, and now they have the next pick at the 11th spot, I say they go big and they take Allen Houston out of Tennessee in the 11th spot. Now, the Lakers were not in the lottery. They were the playoff qualifier with the worst record. They will select 12th, and it's only right that Magic Johnson make the choice for them. Go ahead, Magic.
Well, it's a tough selection at 12 because I'm looking for the Lakers to try to move down and get a better player than at 12. But it's a tough call. Do you take the best athlete? Do you take a little point guard? I might go with the hometown boy. I might take Chris Mills from Arizona.
Wait a minute. How's that the hometown boy?
He grew up there in Los Angeles.
Oh, he grew up in Los Angeles. There we go. Okay, my mistake.
Break this rookie in easy, Magic.
You see, I should know better than to challenge Magic. But let me ask you this one. How close did you come to actually being in a position to contribute to this decision for the Lakers as opposed to just being in a mock draft? How close did you come to becoming their coach and maybe being involved in their front office?
Well, I think that if the Lakers didn't fare well against Phoenix, that I might have been on the bench next season. I think that Randy really secured his job after taking the Phoenix Suns to 5 games.
How interested would you have been? If they offered, would you have said yes?
Yes, I would have done it for Dr. Buss, but I would have to, like I've always been saying, I want a thing like Don Nelson has, coach and a little part of the team.
And that's why, Calvin, this is Peter Vest, that's why you're asking the Clippers now for that job. If they gave you, if they gave you a piece of that club, would you be very interested in that job?
Well, Peter, what's happened is I work out with a lot of the guys on the Clippers, and the players have come to me. John Williams, Lester Connors, Kiki, they want me to coach them. And it would have to be the same situation of the Lakers. I have to not only be the coach, but get a little part of the team.
Well, those three guys you just mentioned probably won't be there next year. I hope some of the other guys have come and asked you.
Well, I think that I know those guys well. I work out with them all the time, and as you and Bill know, any coach, first of all, you got to get the respect of the players, and I think I have that. And you have to know the personnel, and I know the personnel. But like I told them when they came to me, I said, you know what? You probably hate me because one thing you're going to do, you're going to work hard. I'm from the Pratt Riley School of Coaching.
So what does Donald Sterling, the owner, say to you?
Well, I haven't talked to Donald. I'm sure that if he wants me, he know he can call line and they can get it together.
Magic, thanks very much. Some interesting news there. Wish we could continue, but time for us to take a break. And when we return, we'll take a look at how the Chicago Bulls might revamp their team next season with the arrival of Tony Kukoc. That's next as NBA Showtime continues. Player, the Suns' Charles Barkley. Phoenix had averaged 54 wins in the 4 years prior to his arrival, but they had never made it to the NBA Finals in that stretch. The Suns are hoping that Barkley's the guy who will put them over the top. Obviously, the team that's at the top is the Bulls. They built a championship club around Michael Jordan, and they're currently chasing their third consecutive title. But even as they do that, Bulls management is plotting the next phase with the arrival of Tony Kukoc. How different might Chicago look next year? Peter Vesey takes a look at the revamping of the Bulls.
And now, your world champions, Chicago Bulls!
As the Bulls defend their NBA titles and hope for a three-peat, there are many unanswered questions regarding next year's roster. The list of possible free agents includes some household names and runs 8 shallow. That uncertainty, combined with salary cap maneuvering to bring in European star Tony Kukoc, has fueled much speculation in Chicago.
We like Scott Williams. We're going to sign Scott Williams. We're going to sign Will Perdue. We like Will Perdue. And I think he's going to be, a solid player in this league. When you take Michael, who's 30, and you take Scotty, who's going to be 27, I think, next season. Horace will be 27 next season. BJ will be 25 next season. Stacy will be 26 next season. That's the core of a very good young team.
Cartwright's future rests heavily on a three-peat. If they win, he'll probably be back. That decision will impact the status of several others.
The whole thing with, how many big men we have kind of goes in order of Bill, Scott, Stacy, myself. It kind of, works its way down. What's Bill going to do? That'll affect what Jerry does with myself and Scott Williams, or, Stacy stated that, he wants to be traded. Are there teams out there that have interest? So it kind of, what one of the 4 guys does kind of filters down and affects what happens to the other 3.
So what do you do after this year? You've got a number of free agents. Jerry Krause says he's going to re-sign Scott Williams. He's going to re-sign Will Perdue. B.J. Armstrong has an option. He'll be back, he says. What more can be done? You've only got 1 slot, maybe 2.
Well, we have to get more power in our game. We obviously are at a point in our history where speed has taken us as far as it can, and now we have to get a little more power in our game, and we have to have a better sized team. And I think that that's going to be our direction as we go down through the years. Now, Kukoc is a big kid. We don't know if we'll sign him, but in all probability, if he does come, he's 6'10", but he's not going to be a rebounder, and he's not an answer to our power. We'll have to find a power player that's going to go with the team that we have right now.
The bottom line is that a salary slot must be created for Europe's best player, Tony Kukoc. While he won't be the answer to the Bulls' power outage, he has been coveted by Jerry Krause for 3 years. Kukoc was spotted in Minneapolis last week after being flown in by Krause for a physical, a move that sparked questions and irritated players.
The only thing that kind of irks the guys a little bit is how it's done so much, behind the scenes, the Jerry Krause undercover stuff. I don't know what the big deal is if you just bring it out front. I mean, everybody knows he wants to try to sign the guy, and that's, a year ago, 2 years ago, it was a big issue, and it really, miffed a lot of guys. But now it's kind of become a regularity of about a once a month show. It kind of resurfaces, but I think we've kind of gotten used to it.
Former Bull Cliff Livingston, playing in Greece this year, has learned firsthand what Krause has been so excited about when Pauk lost to Kukoc's Benetton team in April. Ironically, Kukoc may be plugged into Livingston's salary slot, filled this season by Rodney McRae.
Me getting caught up in the numbers game with him, it's easy to get in that little, I hate him and dislike him. You know, I didn't really dislike him, but I really didn't like him as a player. I respect him as a player now. He can pass, he can shoot, he can run, he can dunk, he can do everything necessary for a good player to be in the league, and he deserves to be in the NBA.
No question he belongs in the NBA, but if it's to be with the Bulls, as appears almost certain, they got to maneuver to make room under the salary cap, so who goes?
They've got some very tough decisions to make. Bill Cartwright told me he wants to stay if they three-peat. Hey, the Bulls might decide that they can't afford that luxury. They have to use his slot to get that power forward that Phil Jackson says they need. I say the guy they should go after is A.C. Green. But the most important thing they have to do, Bob, is to re-sign Horace Grant, who will be an unrestricted free agent after next year. If they don't satisfy him before next year starts, this guy is liable to take a walk.
Kukoc's best positions are 2 and 3. There is no way he's going to dislodge Jordan and Pippen from those positions. I think this overemphasis on Kukoc is out of place. What the Chicago Bulls need is front court help. I'd go in the free agent market for guys like the Chief, Robert Parrish, and also Tom Chambers. Plus, the Bulls have to look at replacing John Paxson very quickly. His career is right at the end.
But I don't think there's any interest to dislodge either Jordan or Pippen. I think it's to support him for the most part, and I think he's willing. Kukoc is willing to do that. But I think what's really interesting about the Bulls is, as you watch Detroit win championships and then had to take the dive to try to get back up, the Bulls are positioning themselves to, you know, possibly win a championship and stay at the same, the similar level. That is not normally done in this league, so I think that's great management on their part.
Hey, let's face it, the Bulls are not going to get rid of Bill Cartwright to put Tom Chambers into his salary slot. Let's move on.
If you insist we move on, we will. Coming up, it's Game 4 of the Suns and Sonics. We send it out to Dick Enberg and Magic Johnson for the call right after these messages from your local station, and we'll see you at halftime.
Yes, sir. The Phoenix Suns have earned the title Best in the West, led by league MVP Charles Barkley. The Suns confidently compiled the NBA's best record and seem destined for a trip to the finals. But Game 2, Seattle Sonics weren't buying the Phoenix forecast. Nobody told the explosive Shawn Kemp that he couldn't reject Sir Charles. Nobody told veteran Ricky Pierce that he couldn't outshoot his better-known opponents. Nobody told smooth Sam Perkins he couldn't hit clutch three-pointers, and nobody told the Sonics that they couldn't win in Phoenix. This is an unconventional, combative, unpredictable bunch in Seattle. Game 3 in the Northwest, it was Phoenix, showing why they were the NBA's best road team. What lightning-quick Kevin Johnson could do, veteran Frank Johnson's guile could equal. Sir Charles was quiet most of the time, but in the end, the Suns were looking down on the Sonics again. Today, Game 4, will it be a Phoenix win and a 3-1 lead, or will the Sonics stubbornly even the series again?
Is the NBA on NBC. The 1993 NBA playoffs. Today, Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals between the Phoenix Suns and the Seattle SuperSonics.
The great Northwest, they love to cheer their Seattle team, and it goes to supersonic levels. One of the noisiest arenas in the NBA, and they're here to try to help Seattle get even 2 games all in this Western Final. The Suns, after giving up the home court advantage in Game 2, rallied in the fourth quarter to win Game 3 on Friday night. A victory for Seattle would make it a best-of-3 series. Hello, everyone, and welcome aboard. Dick Enberg with Magic Johnson and Steve Jones. In football, coach after coach talk about the fumbles. We need the turnovers. That's how you win or lose games, and that's the theme here as well.
Well, Seattle in the regular season led the league in forcing turnovers as well as in steals. But now in this series here, Phoenix is causing 9 more turnovers as well as 3 more steals. So Seattle has got to get back to their game, causing turnovers, getting steals, where they can get out in the break.
And of course, this crowd will love that and spur them to even greater heights. George Karl made it simple. He said, I like the fact my team is out rebounding Phoenix, but we're just not shooting well.
All during the playoff, when Seattle shoots 45% or better, they usually win. But when they shoot 43% or below, they usually lose.
So look at that 45% as a barometer for Carl Sonics if they're to win today. For Phoenix, I saw you talking a long time with Sir Charles, your Olympic teammate. What was that all about?
Well, Charles Barkley told me after game 2 when they lost the game in Phoenix, he told his teammates he didn't want to come up here and win just 1. He wanted to win 2. He wants to send a message not only to his teammates, but also to those 2 teams back east that they're ready to challenge for the championship.
Send a special wire to the Bulls and the Knicks. Well, the Phoenix Suns are not 100% healthy. Their quarterback was injured on Friday night. With more on that, here's Steve Jones.
Thank you, Dick. You know, if the Phoenix Suns are to get to 3-1, they need a healthy Kevin Johnson. Friday night, he was injured and trying to find a lane. But I talked to him earlier today, and he said after walking around, the thigh has loosened up. He feels that he can be ready to play. It is stiff, it is sore, but he's going to give it a go. For George Karl, injuries are not his concern. It is evolution of who will be his go-to guy down the stretch. Back to you, Dick.
Oh, the power of the personality, Steve. Sir Charles, the league's MVP. He had the entire crowd of nearly 15,000 on his case, and now the rookies. Oliver Miller went to Barkley's barber last night. So did the other rookie, Dumas. We're ready for the lineups. And welcome back to the Seattle Coliseum. Starting introductions for Seattle, but first for the visitors from Phoenix, Kevin Johnson, Dan Majerle. He's assigned to Ricky Pierce's Majerle. He's had his hands full. On the front line, Sir Charles and the rookie Richard Dumas, who will share time with Cedric Sabalas. Mark West will start at center, but we'll see Oliver Miller, the rookie from Arkansas, early. Paul Westphal, many times an All-Star. His number retired by the Phoenix organization. His team the best overall record, best record on the road in the NBA this year. For Seattle in the green and gold, it'll be Gary Payton. His shooting hand has been icy. Ricky Pierce has been red hot. He's had 34 and 28 the last 2 games. Shawn Kemp, a star that's going to get better and better. Derek McKee, he can be great or he can disappear. And in the post will be Sam Perkins, and that's almost out of character. He's been outside the line, hitting threes like Dana Barros in this series and in the playoffs. Head coach George Karl in his first complete year. The 42-year-old former product of North Carolina.
Today's Coca-Cola ball kid is Michael Econ of Seattle. Michael will win an honorary Sonics ball
So
the Coca-Cola ball kid contest.
The hairy Sonics against the shaved Barkley-inspired Phoenix Suns. Richard Dumas. It's interesting that the rookies were the ones who are emulating their star, Barkley.
Well, only the rookies would shave their heads, so veteran players know better than to shave their heads. And you know, you can look for the start of this game. The referees we have here are veteran referees, so they're going to try to control the game from the beginning, but they're going to let them play probably later on. But look for a lot of close calls being, a lot of close fouls being called early.
Who does that help? Who does that help? What team?
Well, I think it helps more Seattle than does Phoenix because when you're at home, some of those calls go in your favor in terms of to get the crowd going, especially early foul on a Charles Barkley or somebody like that.
Jake O'Donnell tosses the ball. Hugh Hollins and Dan Crawford, the officiating crew. Kevin Johnson gets away from Payton. Picked up by Pierce. the creator. Majerle from outside the line. He didn't score a field goal until the game was 31 minutes old on Friday night. He hits one in the opening seconds today.
But it doesn't matter with Dan Majerle because his role is to defend and hustle and also to do all the dirty work, dive for loose balls and get his teammates going defensively.
Derek McKee hits the basket and a foul. Richard Dumas.
Now I felt in game 3 that they should have been going into the post a lot more. Today they start right off going right inside to attack the Phoenix Suns inside with a good move by Derek McKee.
And McKee ties it with his three-point play.
Dick, this is something that they didn't do. Seattle didn't do in game 3. They didn't go inside a lot, and they have players who are good post-up players.
Batted away by Pierce. Dumas. Boy, what a move by the young talent. An illegal defense called less than a minute into the game. Sam Perkins called out of position.
What the fans can look for early in this game, especially with Seattle on defense, any pick and roll or any pick exchange, Seattle switch every pick. So it doesn't matter big on small. If Kevin Johnson has a pick and roll with Sam Perkins involved, they'll switch that.
West inside from Barkley, can't hit the layup. But it's back out to Majerle for a three. Way off the mark. To Payton. Knocked out of bounds to Seattle.
Now reading the papers, the Seattle SuperSonics talking about they didn't run in the fourth quarter and they felt that hurt them, their chances of winning the game. So you can look for them to be running all 4 quarters today.
9 seconds on the shot clock. Perkins. And the call goes against the home team. Perkins with a charge.
Well, it was a good call. What happened was when you out that far on the court and you're coming in, you have the people. Richard Dumas have a chance to set himself and get ready for Sam to come in, and that's what happened. He saw Sam coming from a long way out.
Seattle had to battle foul problems on Friday night. Their front line, 3 men, had 5 fouls at game's end. Perkins setting up for the tray. Barkley's first rebound. He had 16 on Friday night. Scored only 2 points the entire second half, and his team still wins game 3.
Well, because what happens, sometimes they double team him so much he becomes a playmaker, a passer.
That pass off the leg of Derek McKee.
Like just then, he took the double team and he passed out of the double team. So look for Charles to be doing that a lot in this game.
5 on the shot clock. Whoops, Payton reaching in, that's a delay of game. So that's one they can't give away later.
Now, it's really interesting. They have Payton on Dumas on taking the ball out, and they have Derek McKee on Kevin Johnson, who is in with a pick and roll play with Barkley here. With a pick play with Barkley. So this is really interesting how they're playing this out of bounds.
It's interesting now they put another 5 seconds on the clock. And 10 showing now after Payton knocked the ball out of the hands of the man inbounding the ball. Delay a game. Majerle inside, a great pass to Dumas.
The reason he got that dunk was because Seattle went into like a zone on defense, and nobody guarded Dumas taking the ball out.
Going against Dumas. That's what you said, Magic.
Well, I felt they didn't do in the fourth quarter when the game was tied going into the fourth quarter. They should have went inside, and they didn't do that in game 3, but they're looking to do that early here.
McKee with a rebound and draws an over-the-back foul on Mark West.
Well, here it is. Seattle's boxing out. Everybody has excellent position. There's Derek McKee going up, and he gets hit on the head. But Seattle's doing a wonderful job right now executing not only their offense but their defense as well.
Peels off Payton. He just has not been able to hit the easy shots. McKee misses an easy one. It's tied at 5 early, and a foul on Payton. And of course, Payton and the other Sonics have been arguing that Johnson falls down and draws those fouls.
Well, you know, here's a good move right here by Payton. He missed the shot. Back. They just can't get it to fall. But Kevin Johnson is a penetrating guard. He's going to drive all the time.
Dumas slides inside. West with the save. Kevin Johnson's first shot off the mark. Out of bounds to Seattle.
Seattle ball.
Tied at 5. We played 3.5 minutes. Both teams hold at the start. 2 for 8 for Phoenix, 2 for 6 for Seattle, and the second foul on Dumas.
But Seattle is playing a lot smarter basketball here in these first couple of minutes of this game. They're going inside. The book on Richard Dumas is he's not a strong defensive player, and they're going right at him right now.
Here's McKee, the man Dumas is guarding. To Kemp, easy banker, and he misses. Seattle, throughout the playoffs, have shot miserably in the first quarter. They just have never gotten off to a good start. Inside with a muscle shot is Mark West to give Phoenix a 7-5 edge.
But Dick, the problem is both those baskets have been in close. You know, it's not like they're shooting jumpers right now.
Sam Perkins loops the left-handed hook. It's tied at 7. So all the Seattle points have come from the front line so far.
And down inside, where they didn't go the other night.
Barkley with a quick trigger, and Majerle has 5.
I tell you, Phoenix is a team that makes you pay if you don't get back on defense in transition. There, you can see lazy defense by Seattle and an easy 2 by Majerle.
That's the bounce, and it's tied at 9. 5 for McKee, 4 for Perkins, for the Sonics 9. Inside, and the rebound basket by Mark West. He has 4 points. He averaged just a little over 4 throughout the playoffs.
Well, if everybody wants to know who this tempo favors, it favors Phoenix. They like this game to go up and down because nobody in basketball is going to outscore Phoenix. What you have to do is slow the game down and play your tempo. Don't play Phoenix's tempo. And right now, Seattle is playing Phoenix's tempo.
For his first attempt. Payton. That's a big shot for Seattle. They need him to score. They're leaving him open. Barkley finds the line and hits a 3.
3 points. 3 points. Barkley.
And that's the bald truth. Straight up. Payton. Pierce, partially blocked by West. Ahead to Barkley. An angry slam, and it's a 5-point Phoenix lead. 5 quick points by Charles Barkley.
Well, that one was triggered by excellent defense by Mark West. Beautiful shot block. He got it out and with the jump shot. Well, here it is with Charles shooting first, the 3-pointer from deep. He even took a step back, and the reaction said, yeah, to the crowd, 3-pointer, yeah.
As they say, Charles is Charles. Welcome back. Sir Charles, his favorite sport, he said, is boxing because the fighter's in total control. Here he is throwing a right hand of his own. He likes to talk in terms of KOs.
If we got a chance for the knockout punch, I think you should do it. I think what happened other night gave us a lot of confidence, but we're in a situation now we can get 2 of them. And we actually got a free game we can play. They got to win the game, and we got to play as hard as we can. If we have a chance to win it, that's all we can ask for. But it's kind of like a free game to play, and we can go, and that's our motivation to try to go for the knockout punch.
Well, what they want to do, Phoenix Suns, they want to come in here and get two. They, like I said, it's for their confidence, for their fans, and then also for those two teams back east.
Kemp blocked twice, and a foul, and it appears to be on Barkley. Barkley was appealing. Hugh Hollins saying he got a piece of the wrist, but it was more question that Barkley was campaigning for. His second.
Against Phoenix. Shawn Kemp to the free throw line for 2 shots.
You know, Dick, talking to a lot of the Phoenix players and Coach Westphal, they said they can sense that confidence and that swagger that they had during the regular season is coming back right now. They felt that game, number 6 in San Antonio, which they won on the road, came back from 10 down, was the turning point to getting them back to the way they were playing during the regular season right now in the playoffs.
3-point lead for Phoenix. Hand the ball. Oliver Miller is in for Mark West. To Barkley for 3. Short. Ricky Pierce yet to shoot his first shot of this quarter. Kemp inside. Overpassed, we thought, on Friday night, and there's a chance for him to go up with one. He threw it back outside. And it appears Oliver Miller, although Kemp unable to hit one from in close, Miller has the foul.
But even though Ricky Pierce hasn't shot, let's look at the replay first. Goes right inside to Sam. Excellent pump fake here. Get Oliver Miller off his feet and went up for 2. Even though Ricky Pierce has not shot the ball yet, the game plan is good. Slow the game down. Let's go to our strength, which is really their inside game, and try to get Phoenix in foul trouble. And they're doing a good job of taking care of that inside game right now, that being the Seattle SuperSonics.
Perkins looking for his 6th point, and that cuts the Phoenix lead to 1. Johnson showing his speed, and it's a jump ball.
Great defensive play right there by Shawn Kemp. He went up, not to block the shot, really, but really to tie him up high. Beautiful defensive play. Here it is again. Watch how he just jumps up to tie him up high, and both players fall down, but a good defensive play by Shawn Kemp. They were saying earlier that they had to come out high. Good lead pass.
That's a good play off the jump, and Seattle leads for the first time. McKee off Dumas's miss. A block by Kemp there. And traveling against McKee.
It's Phoenix ball.
Well, here on a jump ball, you always tip to the 2 open men. And here they got McKee leaping out and dunking. And George Kyle said, yeah, there it is. Way to think. I like that.
6 straight points for Seattle to take its first lead. Barkley, who's been forced to shoot from outside in this series. He's more effective, obviously, inside with his body, his power, and a foul in the backcourt on Dan Marley.
And the Suns are in the penalty. You know, this is what is causing this crowd. There's the reach in right there. He got him on the arm. But this is the type of game that Seattle wants. This crazy game. They got the crowd going crazy. They got some shot blocks. They have one steal. So this is the game that they want to play. This crazy, wild game. And it's helping them to take this lead right now, 17-16.
5 fouls against Phoenix. 1 called against Seattle. With 5:09 left in the quarter. McKee with 8 points to lead all scores.
Phoenix substitution number 23, Cedric Ceballos.
Paul Westphal sends in Cedric Ceballos for Richard Dumas.
Now, Phoenix going to have to be careful here from these next 5 minutes because they are in the penalty.
Perkins giving Pierce his first shot. A 3-point play. That's a 9-point run for Seattle.
See, one thing about it, jump shooters can always get into the game, but inside players can't. And that's why they go into their inside game first, that being Seattle, and then go to their outside game.
Barkley was 7, all from outside. Pierce. Rammed home by Kemp. Basket is good.
They are more aggressive. You know, in this first quarter, they're more aggressive than in game 3.
They've been averaging 22 points a first quarter throughout the playoffs. They've got 22 with 4.5 minutes left in this one today. Illegal defense, and that'll cost Seattle. It will send Phoenix to the line.
Well, here it is, a big offensive rebound by Sam Perkins, and he kicks it out to Ricky Pierce for his first jumper. Bingo, knocks it down.
KJ shooting the technical for the second illegal defense call.
And here's the follow-up of the Pierce miss. You got Shawn Kemp coming out of nowhere and slam dunking. I tell you, this team, this Seattle team is ready to play. They are so much more aggressive, and they are attacking. They're not backing off. They are attacking.
Most all their points coming inside, something that was not a part of their character on Friday night. And it's Payton. That'll be his second.
Well, the Seattle guards have been complaining in the papers about cheap fouls on the Phoenix team, and here it is right here. They felt this is a cheap foul. Gary Payton said, "Oh man, what did I do?"
22-19 Seattle with just under 4 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Johnson has it knocked away, and can he save? Off Payton, out of bounds. Now they're going to say the ball is on the sidelines to Seattle in the backcourt. Here's Eddie Johnson. 0 for 6. Listen to the crowd. They're trying to help Johnson. They know he is crucial to Seattle's success. Averaging under 4 a game in this series. 11 points total.
Yes, he is important. And your first shot should be a layup or a wide open shot. They should try to get him off for either a layup or a wide open shot.
Kemp. Shawn Kemp has 6, and Seattle's lead is 5.
Again, another inside basket. They really go into that post-up game in this game here.
Nate McMillan in for Gary Payton. Sabalas inside to score his first point.
Beautiful pass by Charles Barkley to see Sabalas cutting inside for that layup.
Wide open is McMillan. He passes it up to Kemp. Can't hit. Marley, as he keeps the rebound, it went off. Seattle out of bounds to the Suns.
Phoenix. Well, here comes Shawn Kemp posting up Charles Barkley. He just catches it and turns. This game is really going Seattle's way. They're being more aggressive and taking it inside.
Johnson, the 12-year veteran from Illinois who lives in Phoenix in the offseason, yet to take his first shot. During the year, averaged 14-4 in the total playoffs 9-7. But in this series, only 11 points in 3 games shut out on Friday night. He was out 2.5 hours ago alone with a ball boy and working on his jumper.
Well, he knows how important. If he gets going outside, he can turn this whole, not just this game around, but this whole series around. And he's a veteran, and those shots are gonna fall for him sooner or later.
Danny Ainge with the ball makes his first appearance for Phoenix. And Seattle shooting 45% in the early going. That's the magic number underneath the Barkley. He's rejected by Perkins and others. Kemp, Perkins around the ball.
The Seattle SuperSonics whole front line is so aggressive right now. Here come Oliver Miller with a beautiful dish to Charles now, but he has 3 guys sitting there waiting on him, and Sam Perkins blocks the shot out of bounds. Seattle is playing excellent team defense, cutting off all the lanes of Phoenix.
Barkley misses the slam and a whistle.
Then he throws McKee out the way after the dunk attempt. And then Jake O'Donnell, being the veteran official that he is, came over to tell Charles about that. Watch after this, he's going to throw McKee out the way. Here it is, good drive, got the foul there, and he just throws McKee out of bounds.
And I think Jake O'Donnell said, hey, I blew the whistle, you got the foul from McKee.
Exactly.
24-22. Seattle.
Well, at the end here, after the foul was called, he just throws Derek out of bounds. And I think Jake was saying, look, I don't want any trouble starting. Next time, I'm going to throw you out the game or to be a technical foul.
Barkley gets both free throws, has 9 points in the game, and the Seattle lead carved to 1. By Majerle, one of the top defenders in the league, made second team All-NBA defense. Shawn Kemp has found his spot on that left side. He has 8.
Well, when we talked to him yesterday, he was talking about, hey, we got to go inside to our big people. And the people from got to quit shooting outside. Go inside.
Barkley's drive, and he draws a foul from Kemp. Kemp thought he had a clean block.
Well, here's Shawn Kemp finding his spot down low. You know he has Charles Barkley on his back, and he's just going to take it right up over him. Right up over him. And what it is Shawn Kemp was telling us that, hey, they should go inside first. We should play inside out. And he was talking about cut the jump shots out. We can always shoot jump shots. Let's try to establish our post game. And here on Phoenix's side, we've seen the last 2 possessions, Charles Barkley has quit shooting jump shots, and he's driving the ball to the basket, and he's picked up 2 fouls doing that.
Barkley looking for his 10th point. And it's 26-24 Seattle. Michael Cage in for the Sonics. Cage rams home his first shot.
They ran that play to perfection, Dick. 2 men switched out on Eddie Johnson and then left Michael Cage under the basket free for the dunk.
Kemp on Barkley. Barkley to Miller. And whistle underneath. 3 seconds against the Suns.
What happens here is Cage sets a pick for Eddie Johnson to come off for a jump shot, and both men went to him, and Michael Cage just went inside and dunked it. Good pass, good read by Nate McMillan.
He has the much shorter Savalas on him, but it's Kemp. Shawn Kemp who's taking charge.
I hate to keep harping on it, but it's that inside game. They know they had an advantage inside, and they're using that advantage.
Good fake by Barkley. Boy, that was a man's drive to the basket.
Oh yeah, he's upset right now.
Basket is good by Charles Barkley. The foul is on number 4.
Gets the basket.
Well, here it is again. Shawn Kemp inside. He got great position, and then Barkley coming right back on the other end, pump fake there, and taking the ball strong to the hole, and then switching to his left hand for a chance for a 3-point play.
And to give Kemp his second foul. 13 points for Barkley, and Seattle's lead is 3.
What's happening is Phoenix on the defensive end is letting Seattle post up too close to the basket.
Eddie Johnson's first shot. Big, big, big.
Well, that's that wide open shot I was talking about. When a shooter has been slumping, he needs a wide open shot, and he just got one, Eddie Johnson.
Oliver Miller taken away by Kemp. 3-on-2. McMillan to Johnson. Oh, my!
Eddie Johnson is feeling good. He's feeling good.
There's a technical foul at the other end on Barkley.
Well, here comes Eddie off a double pick, and he's wide open for the jump shot. Knocks it down. And that's what you have to do. Anytime shooters are struggling, you need them to get a wide open shot to get them out of that shooting slump. Good play by
Barkley called for a technical on the long pass at the other end. Eddie Johnson will shoot it. So Johnson 5 points in about a minute for Seattle. And it's an 8-point Sonics lead, and they have this crowd really involved as Barkley gets the technical foul.
Well, I think what happened was last time Charles didn't get a technical for pushing Derek McKee out of bounds, but this time when he pushed Michael Cage after the ball had already went out of bounds, they called a technical on him.
And he best watch his mouth now.
Yes. And this crowd is hollering Eddie, Eddie. They sense the importance of this game and how important it is to have Eddie Johnson shooting well.
Phoenix with its two sharp-shooting long-range artists, Ains and Majerle in there. Eddie Johnson with a foul.
Foul number 8, Eddie Johnson, his first.
Wait, let's watch the play again. Now what happened was Charles just throws him down, and the referee, Danny Crawford, comes in late and says, look, we're not going to have that technical foul for Charles Barkley pushing Michael Cage down.
Goes back to that warning, Jake O'Donnell early.
Well, like I said, they will not let this game get out of hand. I was saying at the top of the show, they're going to control this game and call these fouls, the fouls that they probably won't call in the fourth quarter.
In comes Tom Chambers for Phoenix. And Barkley will be rested. This isn't just because of the technical, although it's a pretty good time for Charles to just let him cool down, but it's a matter for the rest now, final seconds of the quarter and then the break between periods. It'll be interesting when Tom Chambers comes in. It's like green lights flashing for the opposing team's offense. Most clubs will go right at Chambers.
Well, the way that Seattle is posting inside, of course, they want to keep going to their post-up game because it's been effective here in the first quarter. Now, what Phoenix must do here is try to now execute on their offensive end and try to stop this run that the Seattle SuperSonics have. And that's probably going to isolation for Chambers or trying to set some picks for Danny Ainge or Majerle.
35-28, Seattle. This is a big first quarter for the Sonics. They just have not been able to produce offensively throughout the playoffs in the opening quarter. So George Karl's team out of the blocks early for a change.
Well, because he changed his game plan. He changed his strategy. He went inside, and the players inside have been producing.
Boy, Ainge ran into a wicked pick set up by McKee.
But Ainge should be mad at Tom Chambers and not at Derek McKee, because you got to be talking about pick.
7 seconds left, and Nate McMillan all alone underneath for his first points. Final seconds of the quarter. Majerle for 3. And the Seattle SuperSonics and their fans celebrate a big opening quarter. And for Eddie Johnson, he gets 5, and that bodes well for Seattle's high hopes.
Steve Jones back in Seattle. Just a second ago, I talked to the official, Dan Crawford, and he gave the explanation for the technical. He said that Charles Barkley pushed and elbowed Michael Cage, and that was the reason for the call. Prior to that, I went over to the Phoenix huddle, and Paul Westphal is less concerned about the inside game, and he's more concerned about the defensive pressure on the ball. We'll see if they pick it up here in the second quarter.
All right, thanks, Snapper. Sonics with their biggest lead as we open this second quarter, and Barkley still debating with Mr. Crawford. An 8-point lead for Seattle. Their playoff average in the opening quarter, we told you they've had their trebles, 21 plus. They got 37, by far their best quarter of the playoffs. Their previous high was 28 points. And that's going to be on Johnson as Majerle pushed forward. Chambers, rather.
And Eddie didn't like it because there's a rule that you have to give him some room to clear through for a shot. And Tom did a little acting job there. Here it is again. So Eddie clears through, see? But he cleared through down low and not up high. So it was a little acting job by Tom Chambers, and he drew the foul. But that was not a foul on Eddie Johnson.
Johnson, Marley. This is Ainge, Chambers, and Barkley. And Danny Ainge, who has hit more playoff threes than anyone in history, gets his first today.
Now, you got to be careful here if you're Seattle, because
Dana Barros answers with a tray of his own. The little guy from Boston College.
And get back what I was saying, because this is a dangerous group that the Suns have out here, because they've been playing well all playoffs. They've been scoring. We've been talking about it. So Seattle must. Here it is right now. Tom Chambers on a move and a bank shot. So here it is right here. Seattle must bear down on their bench.
Dana Barros comes out firing. His first 2 shots equal 5 points.
And Seattle fans were wondering where was Dana Barros in Game 3, because if they need outside shooting, they were saying he can provide it for them.
Barkley switching right to left. Hit that one in traffic.
But it was the penetration of Kevin Johnson that made that shot possible for Charles Barkley.
Seattle by 6 with 10.5 to go in this second quarter. And illegal defense for the first time called against Phoenix.
See, KJ has been penetrating all this series, and here another great job by him again, drawing the defense, kicking to Barkley for the easy layup. And he's back to full strength. You can see now he has nothing, no braces on his legs now or on his knee, and he's really feeling comfortable. And he's got his speed and quickness back now.
Meanwhile, Seattle with the ball have made 8 straight field goal attempts. Barkley on Perkins. Barros 2 for 2 off the bench. Slides under Ainge, and a foul on Ainge.
But Dana is upset too, because Dana Barros feels he should be playing not only during these playoffs but all season long. Now here he is, isolation with Danny. He fakes like he's going baseline, but he actually comes back to the middle, and Danny kind of caught him with his leg.
Barros rattles in 3 straight. That's 9 in a row hit by the Seattle offense.
Well, he's talking to George Karl, saying you should have been playing me before now, but I'll take this playing time that I got right now.
Well, remember, Barros was the star in that Game 7 against Houston here.
Yeah.
Marley for 3. His second of the game. Boy, it's become a long-range contest all of a sudden.
And let me say that I haven't seen this type of shooting in the playoffs in a long time by both teams.
There's a turnover. Barkley just does save it. No, he doesn't. Barros was able to knock it off Marley's knee.
Well, what happened is Seattle is doing all the little things right now. They're hustling. Right there, Charles tries to save it, and he does. And Dana Barros knocks it right off the damn Marley.
Timeout with 9:28 left in the half. A look outside of downtown Seattle, Boeing Field, and that's the very first 747 constructed. That's 747 number 1, and of course the aerospace industry is so important to this community and influenced the nicknaming of this Seattle NBA franchise, the SuperSonics, and they have been that in the early going on this Sunday, shooting over 60% in the first half.
But Dick, they're mixing their offense up very well. Inside-outside game is going. And I think they established their outside game early, and that's paying off for their outside game, establishing their inside game.
Perkins with Barkley. Ainge. Marley. Can't hit the runner. Chambers with the loose ball. Marley backs it to Chambers. Stolen by Eddie Johnson. And the foul on KJ.
I tell you, the Phoenix Suns are still battling hard. That time they had about 5 opportunities that just didn't fall for them, but they're hustling too. And they can feel good about this game, because as well as Seattle is playing, the Suns are only down 5 points, and here's a foul right here by KJ.
At the other end, it was Nate McMillan with a steal, his 32nd of the playoffs to lead all players. Eddie Johnson, a tough chance. I mean, Barkley battling to clear off 2 Sonics. Ainge pointing for Barkley to hurry and get down in the hole for him. Inside the arc, has another tray. 44-42. Boy, those three-point shooting of the Phoenix Suns getting them right back in it. So Barrow says, how about this one? Too short. Johnson steals it from Kemp. Couldn't go coast to coast. Now it's McMillan the other way. Perkins denied by Ainge, and a foul on Ainge.
Okay, we're going to go back to that Danny Ainge three. And what happens is, watch how Shawn Kemp runs out at him. He doesn't come out with his hands up. He came out with his hands down at his waist, and Danny Ainge just knocks it down.
He now has 181 playoff trays. Tremendous, as they might say down there in Phoenix. Past Michael Cooper, your old teammate, who had the record at 124.
Danny Ainge, speaking of guys coming out here shooting early, when we came to practice here, they didn't have practice till 10:15, and we got over here about 9:30 yesterday, and he was out here shooting. So Danny Ainge takes a lot of pride in his three-point shooting, and he told us yesterday also he wants to be in the fourth quarter and takes the big shot. I like a player like that. He's a competitor.
He's had a tough second half of the season and then the playoffs, but a valuable man, his experience alone. Perkins gives Seattle a three-point lead, getting 1 out of 2.
I think he's the only one on this Phoenix team that's won a championship, so he can help his players to explain to them what it's like and what it takes to win a championship.
The penetration of Kevin Johnson to give Barkley that shot.
I tell you, KJ is back, and this is only a one-point game right now, so Seattle better be careful.
This is the lineup that won it for Phoenix in the late going Friday night. Dana Barros. He has 9 points in the quarter. Ainge to Johnson. As Phoenix with their three-guard offense. Barkley and Chambers, their small lineup. Chambers draws the foul from McMillan.
Well, if you think Kevin Johnson is not back, you better think again, because here's that penetration again, gets right inside. Beautiful hook pass to Charles Barkley for the dunk. And what happened is caused it by Dan Marley setting an excellent pick on Kevin's man. And it was just, like I said, a beautiful pass by KJ.
Yeah, but you think all passes are beautiful.
Yeah, well, I'm a passer. I always feel that way.
Tom Chambers.
You know, Dick, if I'm George Karl right now, I'm a little concerned because everything's been going my way. My team has been playing well, but if I look up at the scoreboard, it don't really say what it should say. I'm only up 1 point, and Phoenix is really playing a good, solid game. It's just Seattle's playing a little better right now.
You talked about the bench, and the Phoenix Suns again showing today why they are 10 players deep. McMillan gets a second chance, can't score. Chambers with a rebound, and the Suns now with an opportunity to regain the lead. Look at him fire down the court.
But you said the trick play that he did on a couple of guys was just beautiful. He looked like he was going to cross over, and he didn't, and he took it all the way.
George Karl wants a timeout.
Oh, man. The replay's got to show you this. Watch, he fakes like he's going to cross over. He didn't. He faked here like he's going to cross over. He didn't, and he switched to his left hand. Oh, man, he got me excited. Watch how he head and shoulder fake right there, flew past him, switched to his left hand. I'm not going to even talk on this one. I'm going to let him just do his thing.
There's nothing left in your tank.
6:33 left in the match.
Kevin.
Okay, here's Kevin Johnson, and here's Dana Burrows. Now watch what Kevin does. He's going to fake like he's going to go inside. In reality, he's going to go outside. Beautiful ball fake. Now here it is again, freeze. He's going to, again, Kevin's going to fake like he's going inside. He's going to fake the man. He's going to go outside. This man's going to go inside. And then watch him switch to his left hand. Oh, man, Kevin Johnson's just a beautiful basketball player. That was a gorgeous move. That's for all young kids. They should watch head and shoulder fakes, ball fakes. That's what made Larry Bird so great.
78% shooting this quarter. They're on a 12-3 run and have reclaimed the lead by one. Inside is Perkins, and he gets the foul from Tom Chambers. Chambers beaten and had to foul him.
But give George Powell a lot of credit. He felt that they were shooting too many jumpers and he went inside to Sam. Here it is again. They ran a pick and roll first, then they went inside to Sam Perkins, and he went in for two. And he caught Chambers on the high side that time. So give Dana Burrows a lot of credit for throwing the ball toward the baseline side.
Chambers' first foul, and Perkins looks for his 10th point. Sam, who does everything athletically left-handed, but he's a right-hander. Signs autographs and eats with the right hand. He says, and sometimes I'll shoot a little with the right hand.
Yeah, very rarely will you see him shoot with his right hand.
15-48, Chambers the other end with a runner. Great block. Barkley gets it back, and Phoenix ties it at half 100. 6 minutes to go in the half. Oh, this has been an explosive offensive first half. Off Kemp. Barkley forced the turnover.
Good defense. Good defense that time by Charles Barkley. Got his hand right in there and knocked it off the knee of Shawn Kemp.
Barkley has 19 in the first half today. He had 16 the entire game 3. Chambers, rebound by Barros. Taking Chambers.
Well, see, you got a low post player in Sam Perkins against a weak defensive player in Tom Chambers, and it should really go into the benefit of the Seattle SuperSonics.
Majerle to Kevin Johnson. Great pass inside. No look to Chambers, and the foul.
Well, what happens on Seattle's end, you know that Sam Perkins can post Tom Chambers up. And right here, he just want to get it into his sweet spot, which is in the middle, going to his power hand, his left hand, and he's got him. Sam is an excellent post-up player. I don't see why Seattle don't go down more to him in the low post. They really want him to play outside, but he's really a better post-up player than he is an outside shooter.
Chambers fouled by Perkins at the other end. And if he makes this one, it's tied again at 52.
And here's a guy who I had dinner with Friday night, Tom Chambers. And he was saying that, you know, sometimes he wants to be in the game, but he can't be in the game because Coach Westphal wants to go with defense instead of offense. He know he supplies the offense on this team, but Oliver Miller supplies the defense. So he wants to play all the time, but Coach Westphal wants to go with his defensive stopper in Oliver Miller.
Part of that tremendous bench strength of the Phoenix Suns. Chambers, a seasoned veteran, always been tough in the playoffs. And that's going to go to the Phoenix Suns. Well, it might have been a foul on Kemp. If so, it's his third. That would be critical for Seattle.
Well, I like what Phoenix is doing right now. They're playing good team defense, and they really shutting down what Seattle wants to do, try to get inside. So right now, Phoenix is really looking to slow the tempo down and execute. They're running a 1-4 for KJ. All he's doing is penetrating and trying to kick. Penetrating, trying to kick.
Around Ricky Pierce, unable to make the shot. Perkins rebounds. Pierce has been quiet for a while. In fact, it's been a quiet first half. He's the shooting star for Seattle in the series. Kevin Johnson. Perkins took it away from Majerle. Gary Payton. And Payton gives Seattle the 2-point lead. He has 4.
Well, he's hit his 2 shots from the outside, and that's going to help this team, especially maybe in the second half, if he can continue Gary Payton to hit a shot from the outside.
Barkley almost casual as he sets up Perkins and then falls away with that one. 54 aside.
But you know what happened, what set that up, Dick, was he's been driving to the basket the last 2 or 3 times, and that's what set that wide open jump shot up for him.
Hayes with a reach around, and that'll be his 3rd foul, the first Sun with 3.
Foul number 22, Danny Ainge, his 3rd.
Eddie Johnson in for Shawn Kemp. Kemp rested the remainder of this first half with 3 fouls by George Karl. There's Johnson. He had 5 in the opening quarter. And Seattle into the penalty. 3 fouls called on the Sonics thus far. Oliver Miller returns and Chambers out. Dumas also back in for Phoenix.
This is a dangerous game, really, for Seattle, the way it's going. I mean, it's going good in terms of them playing, but they have no cushion to feel good about. And so they're letting Phoenix hang around, and it's going to be dangerous. So they're going to have to pick up this pace in the second half and get some cushion in between them and Phoenix.
Playoffs so often scores in the 80s and 90s, and this one headed for 110 plus to the winner.
No team in basketball can outscore Phoenix. You get into a game with them, and you're going to lose that battle every time.
Too many good shooters.
Exactly.
Tied at 56. More than 3 minutes to go before the intermission. We'll be back to New York for all the news of the day. And there's a technical foul against the Suns. Their 2nd illegal defense.
Well, Kevin Johnson sat in the lane and didn't go through with Payton, and that's what he got called for.
Speaking of news, the latest on you is that you're a candidate for the LA Clippers coaching job?
No, I think what happened, all this got blown out. What I said was that some of the players had asked me and mentioned it to me, do I want to coach or would you coach the Clippers? And I think what's happened is they're going to name Lenny Wilkins the coach. But everybody took it as like, I'm a candidate. I haven't talked to the Clippers at all.
1 point Seattle lead. Perkins with a drive. And the Sonics get another chance. Pearson uses picks so well and then throws it away, looking for Eddie Johnson.
Timeout, Phoenix.
Timeout, 2:40 remaining in this opening half. The Sonics by 1.
Report will update you on the Eastern Conference Final between the Knicks and the Bulls. Both teams practice today in Chicago before tomorrow afternoon's Game 4. We'll hear from Quinn Buckner and the insiders on the first half of this game in Seattle. And Peter Bessie continues to burn up the phone lines in search of information on some of the league's coaching vacancies. We'll bring you the latest on that front, too. Right now, back to Dick and Magic in Seattle, where the Sonics lead the Suns by 1.
All right, Bob, and one of the coaching rumors that he doesn't have is that Magic is going to take Pat Riley's job with the Knicks. Who knows what's next? Well, what's next for you is tomorrow at 3 Eastern, 12 here in the West. Game 4, the Bulls, can they even it up with the Knicks? And then we'll be visiting with you Tuesday night from Phoenix, Arizona, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Phoenix and Western time for Game 5 of the Western Finals.
Well, here, you know, you got 2 minutes and 40 seconds to play to halftime, and it's important, more important for Seattle than for Phoenix to close this quarter out strong, because if Phoenix goes in halftime up, they're going to feel real good about themselves and what they can do in the second half, because Seattle has played so well.
7 on the shot clock. We haven't talked much about the clock in this game. They've been firing it up at both ends. Barkley's had a big first half and doesn't hit that one. Seattle by 1. 2:13 to go.
Let's see if Seattle will go back to that inside game they were having so much success with.
Eddie Johnson, short, out to Barkley. Dumas it is. Boy, now with all the bald heads, you got Miller, Barkley, and Dumas all out there at one time. And a turnover, and Johnson will save it from Ricky Pierce.
No, Ricky Pierce hit the ball. It should be Phoenix's ball.
Yes, and Dan Crawford comes in to make the correction.
Yeah, see, Ricky Pierce right there hits the ball, and it should be Phoenix's ball. Good call by Crawford.
But Johnson did a good job hustling back there. He wasn't quite sure how the call would go. Didn't want to give Pearson easy too in case the call had stood.
Smart play by Kevin Johnson. Now they're going to the 1-4 again, letting KJ penetrate and kick.
That'll be on Dumas as he charges into Gary Payton. 3 on Dumas.
Well, here it is again. What they want to do is KJ penetrate and kick, and here Dumas is trying to drive in, but Gary Payton, instead of going through with KJ, stood his ground and waited for Dumas, and offensive foul.
So Ellis will be in at the next timeout. Earning a tough 2 from 8 feet away. He has 5 points in the half. Over Miller. Derek McKee to Payton. Good move by Payton.
He just told KJ he got a crossover move of his own and put it right on KJ and went in for 2.
6 points for Payton, and Seattle builds its lead to 5 points. Final minute. We should say final minute, first half. That much scoring. Guy couldn't get it off. That'll be traveling or a jump ball. Dumas inside. Derek McKee, the defender.
Well, here it is. Payton caught KJ retreating back to the basket, and he crossed over on it. Oh, beautiful move. Laid it in for 2. He caught KJ thinking he was going to go to the middle. He crossed over and went to the outside and laid it in for 2.
Johnson out to Majerle. Time for Phoenix to get 2 for 1 here if they get the ball up. 34 seconds as Barkley walks in and now has 23 points to lead all scorers.
Well, Charles has so many points because he's been going inside. In the first 3 games of the series, he's been shooting from the outside, but he's going inside now.
Dumas. That's the turnover where Phoenix has been playing Seattle's game. Shot clock is off. Phoenix down by 3.
They'll go 1-4 again, or pick and roll up high, clear the side, let KJ work one-on-one. Got to get it up.
Barkley. No, would not have counted. He didn't get it off in time. Well, in Seattle, we've had rainy weather part of this weekend. These fans hope the sun doesn't shine today. The Sonics working hard, an explosive first half, but lead by only 3, 61-58 in their best half of their entire series. Coming up, our NBC NBA halftime report.
Halftime of Game 4 in Seattle. The Sonics leading the Suns despite 23 in the first half by Barkley, 61-58. And we'll kick this game around a little bit, get the opinions of Vesey, Walton, and Buckner on it in just a moment. But first, in the Eastern Conference, New York leads Chicago 2-1 after the Bulls, of course, blew the Knicks out by 20 yesterday afternoon in Chicago. Game 4 is tomorrow at Chicago Stadium. We'll have that one for you beginning with showtime at 3 o'clock Eastern. Here's a look at the Bulls now going through practice a few hours ago. Hannah Storm was there, and she brings us this report. Hannah.
Today, the Chicago Bulls were fined $25,000 by the NBA for not making their players available to the media. However, Game 3 hero John Paxson did speak to the press, as well as Coach Phil Jackson. And certainly the Bulls' 20-point victory in Game 3 spoke volumes about what they need to do to even the series tomorrow.
If we play aggressively defensively, it all translates to playing aggressively on the offensive end. And we're trying to open up the floor a little bit more. You can't open the floor when your outside shooters make shots, and yesterday we did that.
We're getting accustomed to the Knick defense, if that's possible. Michael's 3 for 18 shooting's an aberration. I don't think that we're going to see that again in this lifetime of Michael Jordan as a basketball player.
While the Bulls were quite pleased with the level of energy that they played with in Game 3, the New York Knicks felt that they did not come into the game with the same intensity with which they played the Bulls at home.
Well, I think that we could have been too relaxed coming in here, 1-2 games at home and not really focusing. They came out pressing and real emotional, and the crowd was behind them, and they made a lot of things happen in the first quarter, and to give them that big lead.
the coaching staff did a great job of preparing us for this game. As players, we just didn't come in mentally ready to play it. And, you know, when you come into this type of setting and not ready to play against a team such as Chicago Bulls, the score going to reflect how you play.
To me, it's a terrible excuse. I mean, at this level, if you're saying we were too relaxed or if we were not intense, then you're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. If you have to conjure that up at this particular time of the year, then we're in deep trouble. The Chicago Bulls were better than we were shooting, execution, rebounding, ball movement, defensively than we were, and they beat us.
Expect Riley to have the Knicks mentally prepared for Game 4. However, he says they won't make any adjustments regarding the Chicago trap. Meanwhile, Phil Jackson has said that he expects his team to press even more in Game 4, and everyone expects Michael Jordan to break out of a shooting slump at any time. That's the story from Deerfield. Let's go back to Bob in New York.
Hannah, thanks a lot. And when we come back after a commercial, we'll get the thoughts of Quinn Buckner and the insiders on the first half in Seattle. That's after a message from Prudential and a word from the NBA. Stay with us. Okay, Peter Bessie, Bill Walton, Quinn Buckner here now. We've been talking about coaching vacancies this weekend. Magic expressed at least some mild interest in the Clippers position, but then acknowledged with Dick Enberg during the first half that he's pretty sure it's going to go to Lenny Wilkins. Now, assuming that the Clippers do sign Wilkins, Atlanta, which wanted Lenny and which wanted Doug Collins and has been rebuffed apparently in both cases, where do they go?
Well, Stan Kasten, the Atlanta president, has been bragging to me that he's got somebody on the shelf waiting to spring on me. And I found out that 2 months before the end of this season, he went to Jerry Coangelo, the Suns president and owner, and asked permission to have Cotton Fitzsimmons come over and coach the last 2 months of the season. Coangelo turned him down because he felt that the money, it was going to be prorated, wasn't the kind of money that Cotton's making as the vice president of the club. He also doubles as a TV commentator. He makes $400,000. He's not going to leave for 2 months. But now, with the Hawks scrambling, they've contacted Jimmy Lynam. They want to go after him. He's the general manager of the 76ers. He says no. Hey, they could come up and get Cotton here.
And you think Cotton would be interested?
I think he's interested in coaching again. I don't know about the Hawks. I think he'd much prefer to coach an up-and-coming team that already has a center like Orlando or Charlotte.
All right, let's talk about this game with Seattle up by 3 at halftime, and the contribution of Dana Barros is one place we might focus.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about it. One of the things we talked about is not having Eddie Johnson. Eddie Johnson has played well. He's come in, he's got 5 points, which is more than he had actually in the other game. But Dana Barros off the bench gives him a guy that can shoot the ball from the perimeter, but he can also get into the paint. Now, you see him right here knocking down this three-point shot. He got Danny Ainge in trouble because when you come out to guard him on the outside, he can take the ball inside. They've got to find a way to get easy hoops because Shawn Kemp, though he's shooting over Charles Barkley, still doesn't have a go-to move, and that's one of the things that's going to keep Seattle from being overall successful.
Bill.
Phoenix did not counter with Frank Johnson, who came in with a huge game in Game 3. He's the guy who's normally matched up against Dana Barros. That did not happen. Phoenix is in pretty good shape, though, just down 3 on the road. Barkley is rolling. Phoenix likes to play with Barkley, KJ, and Majerle the whole game. Rotate a bunch of other guys in there, whoever plays well. This was Tom Chambers' day in the first half so far. Who's it going to be in the second half? Yet to be determined, possibly Oliver Miller.
Just to set Barros here for a second, here's a guy averaging 3.5 points a game and just 8 minutes per in the playoffs, and in fact didn't play in 3 previous playoff games, didn't play at all. George Karl never pointed the finger at him in the entire game 3 times in the postseason. Today, 9 points on 4 of 5 in 8 minutes in the game. A huge boost for them.
You know, Eddie Johnson told me something the other day that what separates Seattle from Chicago and New York is a game face. He says they never know when they're going to have their game face Seattle, where those two teams usually do. When you give up that kind of points in the first half to Phoenix in your arena, I mean, that's not a game face.
But
You've got to play
what
better defense.
This goes back to Shawn Kemp, Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing. The guy that is the leader on the team has to impose the game face on the team. Michael and Patrick do that. Shawn just doesn't know what this is about. I mean, he's a good player, but he hadn't been through this, so he doesn't know how to impose his will on the team.
Well, he's already not talking to me, so now he's not talking to you.
As the nominal leader of this motley quartet, I impose my will at this moment. We're sending things back to Seattle for the second half. The Sonics up by 3. We rejoin Dick Enberg and Magic Johnson right after these messages from your local stations. My friends, that is leadership.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
And welcome back to the Seattle Coliseum. Dick Enberg with Magic Johnson and Steve Jones. The Sonics leading by 3, a high-scoring playoff first half. Magic Johnson, what caught your eye after the first 2 quarters?
Well, let's go to the telestrator. And what happened is Sam Perkins is doing a wonderful job of, here's Sam, and also the team is doing a great job of spacing. Here's all the players giving Sam some room to operate. I'm going to clear here. Watch Sam go to the middle with nobody coming over to give Chambers help, and he goes inside for the easy hook shot. Now on the other end, Charles Barkley is clearing out everybody. They're going just Charles clear out. He's taking it to the basket. In the first 3 games, he was shooting jump shots, but he's decided in the 4th game, in an important game, that he's going to take it to the basket, and it's proven big for the Phoenix Suns.
Barkley with 23. He's never scored 40 in his playoff career. Here are the Miller Genuine Draft highlights at halftime, and we talked about the magic number for Seattle, shooting 45%, 10% better than that in the first half. Phoenix shooting well enough, and Barkley, the star, 23 to lead all scorers. We also talked about bench scoring, the fact that Phoenix has had the edge there, not in the first half today. Eddie Johnson with 5 and Dana Barros with 9 leading Phoenix and matching the output from the Suns off the Pines. And right now, George Karl is with Snapper Jones.
All right, thanks, Dick. We're here with George Karl, and I guess the big question is, can your team play any better? Everything has been perfect so far here in the first half.
Well, offensively, we woke up and we played like we're capable, playing very fast, doing some smart things, good decision-making at the offense end of the court. KJ and Barkley are really penetrating the ball. Barkley's gotten a big night. We got to make some adjustments there. It looks like it's the kind of the games we had in the regular season, not like the first 3.
So is it defense that's going to win this game in the second half?
I think we're going to have to tune up some defensive things. I don't know if I want to try to win a shootout with this team.
All right, back to you, Dick.
All right, Steve, unhappy subsonic here in this sellout crowd of almost 15,000. We're ready for the second half. Seattle leads by 3. Second half, review of the top scorers first half. Phoenix led by Barkley's 23, no one more than 8, and Seattle Perkins with 12. Good balance for the Sonics, and Barros a big 9 in a short term off the bench.
Well, I don't think Phoenix, the way they play, they want Charles to maybe get around 30, but they don't want him to get up around 40 because that means that other guys on their team is not involved in the game. So maybe look to him to be a passer more so in the second half.
Oliver Miller starts the second half for Phoenix, as does Savalas, so 2 changes there. Sonics with their starting 5 that open the game, and Perkins has to hustle to save that from backcourt, and does. Kemp with 3 fouls. Payton with 2 seconds on the clock, and Gary Payton, oh, how Seattle needs him to score. His game has been dead on the offensive end.
Well, he's hit all 3 outside shots he's taken in this game. And right now, he's feeling good about himself. And you can look for him to take that shot because Phoenix is giving him that shot.
Oh, that was a beautiful play. Barkley to Johnson, and Johnson with a quick pass inside. And the foul. Oh, it's goaltending. Excuse me.
Yes, it's definitely goaltending. But KJ is really looking to find the open man this afternoon, and he's doing a wonderful job of doing it.
Quick answer at the other end from Derek McKee.
I think they were listening to me the other day because now they're going inside and going to the mismatches, because I was wondering why weren't they going inside on Friday night, because they do have the advantage of a post-up game over Phoenix.
Whistle underneath from Jake O'Donnell, and it goes offense.
3-second violation.
Well, here's Big Oliver going inside, and then to McKee here on this end. He's just too big and strong for Cedric Sabalas down low. Now he got Oliver on, and he decides he can't post him up, and he probably wants to isolate him, take him off the dribble.
Yes. McKee inside. He has 14.
Good decision that time. He knew he couldn't post up Oliver Miller, so he moved him outside where he could use his speed and quickness against him.
Kevin Johnson, who had only one basket, that brilliant drive in the first half, and it's Kemp beating the Suns down court and drawing the foul from Barkley.
Okay, here it is right here, the isolation right here, Derek McKee. And what's happening is he had just hit a post-up move. Now he's going to use his quickness to beat Miller to the middle and just come right over him for a hook shot.
Kemp unable to complete the three-point play. That was his first point since the first quarter. Barkley too long with his pass. 69-62, Seattle. Kemp, Jimmy at the other end, and this is what the Seattle SuperSonics love to do. And Phoenix, stunned, will call timeout. This matches Seattle's biggest lead at 9.
Well, what happens is they're catching Phoenix in transition, and Phoenix is not getting back. Oliver Miller slammed the ball down. Frustration is setting in on the Phoenix Suns, but you got Seattle playing excellent basketball. Okay, well, Seattle is beating Phoenix at their own game. They're running up and down the court. There's one of them, and then they come right back with another. Here's one Sun, here's two Sun, here's three Sun, here's four, and they didn't get back, and they throw it up the court to Shawn Kemp for a dunk shot. They must get back in transition, and Phoenix is not doing that.
They call Shawn Kemp the Rain Man, and that's a high compliment in this part of the woods, where they get their share, and he's just thrown a couple of raindrops through there in a hurry. A 9-point lead. Barkley was disgusted with himself in that recent exchange, threw down his mouthpiece. Kevin Johnson can't connect. Sabalas does on the follow.
Well, right now on the front line scoring, Seattle has 40 points, and with that 2 points just in, Phoenix has 31. But out of that 31, Barkley has 23 of those, so they're going to have to get some more of their front line to score more points, that being the Phoenix Suns.
Meanwhile, Seattle, that's what you're talking about, have to move the ball inside, and they are doing that.
They're posting up very strong and getting easy shots underneath.
Barkley unable to hit the outside jumper. McKee on the run. No whistle. McKee has 16.
He felt that Dan Majerle was still moving. Excellent move there by Derek McKee to come in, and it probably was a good no call.
Run at Kevin Johnson, Marley. Oliver Miller with that big wingspan, but so does Shawn Kemp.
That was a 24-second violation. And that last hoop here it comes right here. Kicks it to Derek McKee, and Dan Majerle didn't stand his ground. He kind of bailed out. Now, what Phoenix has to do on their offense is be more patient. They're not patient enough. And Seattle is going right to that same matchup again. And he blew it that time, Derek McKee. They're going back and forth. Now, this is coaching to me. George Karl's doing an excellent job. They say I'm from the old school, but if something is working, you keep going to the well runs dry. Here it is again. McKee spins on him. He had been going to the middle all the time, and this time he faked to the middle, went baseline. And this is what they didn't do Friday. They didn't go to the post-up game, and that's why they got beat.
That gives Seattle its biggest lead, 10, as McKee now with 17 points.
So George Karl, every game you must make adjustments. And right now, so far, George Karl has made the adjustment from game 3 to game 4.
11 points, the Sonic advantage. Oh, they didn't see Oliver Miller wide open underneath. That's going to be a foul, reaching in on Seattle.
Now the fans can see what happens when your offense is going good. Your defense always picks up. Now Seattle has got their pressure way out court now. Look, hands on him. He's looking to really body up against him. But it's all right, he got the foul. But that's what happens when you got good offense going. Then your defense goes good as well.
First on Ricky Pierce. Phoenix with a new 24. Majerle from long range, way off the mark. Nice save by Sabalas, and then out of bounds off McKee. No, Sabalas had his foot on the baseline.
And then on the return of that, Dick, when you're struggling, Dan Majerle knocked that down probably 50-40% of the time. But because they're struggling on defense, now they struggle on offense.
Here's the matchup again. McKee inside. Now Perkins for 3. Sabalas rebound. Almost taken away by McKee. And it's out of bounds to Phoenix.
They're just throwing any kind of flow that Phoenix had in the first half. They don't have it anymore in the second half. And so they must now maybe go to Charles on an isolation or something and get some of that flow of the game going back their way, some of that momentum that they had in the first half.
Karl thought he had a 10-second violation. Majerle. Again, well off the mark.
Well, again, Dick, it's another jump shot.
Ricky Pierce. And the Seattle lead is 13.
Nothing's coming easy for Phoenix Suns. Everything's coming easy for Derek McKee because they're feeding off their defense. Their defense throws it into their transition game. Here it is, a long jump shot. And what usually happens on a long jump shot is fast break time. And Shawn Kemp does an excellent job getting it to Ricky Pierce jump shot. And George Karl is loving it.
Well, he should, as Seattle trying to pound out a win in a 2-all tie. Look at Shawn Kemp doing his impersonation of you.
Well, he takes it, first he gets the rebound, and usually what happens on a long rebound, you run, and you run out. Now look at him, he never looks at the man, he just looks right through it left, and a nice jump shot by Ricky Pierce. And he got this crowd going crazy, too.
Sonics led by only 3 at the intermission, and they've outscored Phoenix by 10 here in the third quarter. You see Seattle shooting 58%, by far their best of the playoffs to this point.
Well, Phoenix got to get something going to the basket. They got to get a drive, they got to get a layup, something going to the basket.
Kemp got the rebound, he eluded the defensive try of Kevin Johnson. Midpoint of the third quarter. Foul on Barkley, his second. Steve?
All right, Dick, Paul Westphal very calm in the huddle, but what he was trying to get his team to understand is where the pressure is coming from and how to relieve it. Kevin Johnson and Charles Barkley are to be the primary ball handlers. Everybody else get themselves in a position to shoot. He wants better defensive pressure on the ball.
Kemp with a good save. Thank you, Steve. Payton continues a run of 16-4 for Seattle. And Payton trying for the steal has the foul as well as third.
Well, they finally got something going to the basket. I think KJ sensed that he needed to do something to penetrate, to get something going to the basket. So he decided to just put his head down and take it to the basket and got a foul. But what has happened is Paul Westphal wants more pressure on the ball, but what they're doing is Seattle is taking the ball out of Gary Payton's hand and letting the forwards handle it. And that's why they can't get the pressure that they want, because those forwards on Phoenix Suns' team is not used to pressuring forwards. So that's the difference in the game right now.
Johnson with only 5 points today. 79-65 Seattle. Payton feeling more confident. A long rebound to KJ. Through the hands of Barkley. And Johnson a reach around.
The pick and roll was coming in, and Payton decided to spin baseline, and Kevin reached in. They called a foul on him. And also a technical foul as well on Kevin Johnson.
Johnson continued to argue, so he gets a T as well.
You can tell that he was upset. That's his reaction after the foul was called. And then Hugh Hollins, he kept on, referee Hugh Hollins, and then he just whistled in for a T.
Ricky Pierce deadly from the line, one of the best in the game. Kevin Johnson cooling down. Suns have been very cool of late. They haven't scored a field goal in 4 minutes and 18 seconds.
Well, see, Phoenix, it's tough for them to come back. They're not a comeback team because they're not a pressure type team. They can't get up and deny you and things. What they're gonna have to do right here is slow the tempo down. Phoenix, they're gonna have to go to Childs maybe on some isolation where he can get double and beat on somebody else. Either hit the shot himself or give it to somebody else.
Kemp missed an easy chance, and Ricky Pierce forces a turnover, and Jake O'Donnell changes his mind. Now he knew he'd made a mistake. Right in front of the Phoenix bench, there were about 15 folks to remind him, too.
There's a move right there. And come up with the steal right here, but it went off of Ricky Pierce. Good call by Jake.
And a whistle at the other end. And it may be Pierce, yes, the second.
Okay, it's going to be interesting right here because Phoenix has moved in 4 bench players as well with Charles Barkley. And I think they got to go through Barkley. Barkley really hasn't touched the ball a whole lot in this quarter. And he would help them to get shots.
Here's Frank Johnson, the veteran, and able to get the ball off the hands of one of the Sonics with 19 seconds on the shot clock. Frank Johnson, the star, off the bench in Game 3 for Phoenix. He was 4 for 5. Made 3 quick points and a key 3-pointer in the fourth quarter to lead Phoenix to the win.
They're going to need him to give them some more quick offense because they're struggling right now offensively. And most of their shots are coming outside.
There's Payton with a steal. Perkins fouled by Barkley, his third.
See, what's happening is right here, Charles Barkley and Tom Chambers went up to Frank Johnson. Here's the steal right here. He goes up, he loses the ball, but I think it was knocked away by McKee. And then they went down the court, and Sam Perkins kicked it to Sam Perkins, and Charles fouled him. Now, what happened, Phoenix Suns, they all gathered at the free throw line. And Charles is right here, trying to get Frank Johnson's attention. He's trying to let him know one player cannot do it by themselves, and that's what he felt Frank was trying to do. He was trying to make something happen by himself. When you come back, you got to come back as a team. And Charles is trying to let him know that, come through me, I can either get a shot or I can create a shot for you guys.
It's been a real drought for the Suns. High-scoring Phoenix Suns have been shut out for over 5 minutes from the floor. Chambers, he misses. Barkley, his first points of the second half. Turnover to Phoenix.
If Phoenix is going to come back, they got to go through Child. He wants it now. He wants to make something happen.
West away by Kemp from the backside. Barkley can't hit. Perkins rebounds. Less than 4 to go in the third quarter, and it's been a huge period for the SuperSonics.
Phoenix is just struggling so much offensively, and then Seattle is doing a great job of reading the mismatches and going to them.
Perkins, rebound by Frank Johnson. Played at Wake Forest, 3 years in Italy, his last 3 seasons, Frank. Back inside to West, and he's bumped hard.
Seattle has been playing swarming team defense all afternoon. Here's another example of that. Shawn Kemp coming to help out and block the shot from behind.
Kemp made the foul on the last play on Mark West, his 4th. Barkley rested. Dan Marley replacing Barkley, who goes all the way to the end of the bench. I think that says something. He's unhappy with himself. He's unhappy with his team's play.
Well, you know, it's interesting to sit here and look at the Phoenix team and what team they have out on the court. Because you got Mark West out there. Right now, you really need offense. There's Shawn Chambers with a jump shot. You really need offense. And Mark is out there because Seattle's been posting them up so much that Mark is their best post defensive player as well as Oliver Miller, and they must go to him a push that time.
Foul on Tom Chambers is second.
24, Tom Chambers is second.
And Charles is really buried at the end of the bench, and he's very unhappy right now.
Eddie Johnson in for Ricky Pierce. Westfall's team throughout the playoffs rarely in this position where they find themselves facing such a big deficit. At this moment it's 13 points and Perkins with a chance to raise it to 15. Perkins now 6 for 8 from the line.
On the other end on Phoenix, they must now find out who they're going to go through in terms of getting them some offense. Maybe it'll be Tom Chambers because I don't know if anybody on Seattle's team that can guard him. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do offensively because they've been struggling.
Chambers at the three-point try. Payton on the run. Oh, they're going to call that traveling. 1 hop too many.
Yep, excellent call that time. Let's see. I'd say this. When you're struggling offensively, you got to go to the basket. You can't settle for that three-point shot. It was a good shot for Tom, but you got to take that to the basket now and try to get something going to the hoop because they've been settling for outside shots this whole third quarter.
Vincent Askew, number 17, in for the first time for Seattle. Replaces Sam Perkins. You see Richard Dumas getting ready to check in as well. 14-point advantage for the Sonics, who are up by only 3 at the intermission. Chambers against McKee. McKee bats it away, and they'll call a foul on McKee.
That was just what I was saying, Dick. What you got to do is, what they want to do is go to Chambers. He's the only one out there on the Suns team that can really create his own shot. And he went inside, and they called a foul for reaching in. But Tom Chambers can definitely still score. He hasn't lost that.
It was McKee and Cage around Chambers, and Cage draws the foul, his first. Chambers, 8 points in the game. Did you notice all that when you were taking free throws, and you played in this building a lot, and they certainly tried to distract you as well? Did you think about it at all?
No. When you shoot free throws, you can't think about what the crowd is doing, what they're waving. You just got to concentrate on that basket and also on your follow-through. And if you could do that, you'll still make, your shot. Whatever your percentage is, you can knock it down. All good free throw shooters block the crowd out.
If you're noticing that, you're going to have bad numbers. Payton. And Eddie Johnson saves it for Seattle.
Okay, now Seattle is starting to play like they were playing Friday. They must still go inside. There's a mismatch again.
He against the shorter Marley. And then dumps it out to Askew. Danny Ainge to Dumas. Marley takes it. Out of bounds to Seattle. As Nate McMillan checks in for the Sonics.
Okay, Dick, where we got excellent play in the first half from both benches, now both benches are struggling to score.
Michael Cage, Eddie Johnson, McMillan misses, Cage scores.
How can you have three Sonics battling for the loose ball or the offensive rebound, and there was not one Phoenix Sun standing there?
Chambers at the other end, the veteran from Utah, has a dozen.
And he knows his court well. He used to play here for the Seattle SuperSonics.
He's had a playoff high this year of 18 today to McMillan.
Excellent pass. The double team came down. Nate McMillan cut to the basket, and Derek McKee found him.
And a foul.
Foul number 10, Nate McMillan, his second.
Well, what happened? You got three guys. Look, 1, 2, 3 battling for the offensive board. There was no Phoenix Sun. And then you come right back. Here comes the double team by Frank Johnson. And watch Nate McMillan as he cuts right through to the basket. That's what you should always do on a double team. Your man double team cut through to the basket. And Derek McKee found Nate McMillan.
Chambers has hit all 7 of his free throws today. McMillan the foul, his second.
And you know what, Dick? I've watched Seattle play through this whole playoff. This is the best game that they have played in the playoffs. Including the Utah and the Houston series. They've really put their outside-inside game together today, this afternoon, so far.
And this third quarter has maybe been their top quarter in terms of shutting out the other side and scoring as well. Johnson can't hit. Oh, no goaltending there. Fans wanted it. Ainge goes the other way. Frank Johnson hits his first shot of the second half. And it's an 11-point game. Final seconds, third quarter. There's Johnson. Picks off McKee and then throws it away himself. McMillan.
They're going to play for the last shot here.
McMillan, who has been the theft of the playoffs with 33 now. And that'll go against the driving Askew, his first.
Well, here it comes right here. This the goaltending that wasn't called. Eddie Johnson drive through. Michael Cage tipped it in, but there was Dumas to knock it out. Watch Cage. He's going to tip it up toward the basket. Then Dumas going to come and knock it out of there. And that was definitely goaltending.
For the Suns, they have a tick under 8 full seconds to get off a shot. Kevin Johnson. Richard Dumas. And that's the end of a third quarter in Seattle that is beholden to these Sonics fans. Derek McKee was the key for the Sonics. And we'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station. Welcome back to the fourth quarter. The Sonics lead by 11. Shawn Kemp knows that Seattle has to change its habits these last 12 minutes.
We struggled in the fourth quarter, I think, this whole playoff as far as communicating, executing plays there. Somehow, somewhere, we're going to have to get the ball. We're going to have to get the ball to myself Sam or Ricky. I think that's got to be our first three options. I still think we should get the ball down low and play from the inside to the outside. I think sometimes there in the fourth quarter, we just come out shooting jump shots, and I don't think they're bad shots, but I think when you can make things a lot easier, we're getting the ball to your big guy.
And speaking of the big guy, for Phoenix, it's Barkley who misses. He scored only 2 points in the second half. He had only 2 in victory on Friday night in the second half.
What happened, he only got up 3 shots, and that was a good decision by Coach Paul Westphal, is to go inside the first play right to Barkley. And also we should pay attention to see what happened with Shawn Kemp, talking about they got to continue in this quarter to try to go inside and score baskets inside.
To the left hand as Kevin Johnson, and Barkley bangs in the rebound, and the lead cut to 9.
And the Seattle SuperSonics better be careful here, because this game is not over.
Nina Barrelson had 9 big points off the bench in the first half. Eddie Johnson against Marley with a spin move.
He read the body up by Dan Marley. Once Dan put his body on him, that's when Eddie Johnson went to the spin, and he spun and flipped it in for 2.
Marley trying to get it to Barkley, knocked away.
Okay, here it is again. Eddie gonna go baseline. Now watch when Dan Marley bodies up right there. He just spins off of him and goes in for 2. Now look here, like the Phoenix Sun now is trying to get some penetration and trying to go to the basket instead of shooting outside jump shots all the time.
Kemp back in the game on Barkley. Barkley with the assist. A beautiful bounce pass to Dumas.
The first 2 baskets here in the fourth quarter has been inside layups, and that's what they had to continue to do. When in the third quarter, Dick, I thought they settled for jump shots too much, that being the Phoenix Suns.
Seattle by 9. 10 minutes, 20 seconds to go. And a reach in, and Barkley raises his hand. It's his 4th.
But here's Charles Barkley, and he reads the defense, and excellent bounce pass into Richard Dumas. And see, that's what I'm saying. You put the ball into Charles Barkley's hands, he's going to make something good happen most of the time. So you must give it to him, let him penetrate, create a shot for himself or for somebody else.
Shawn Kemp. A tornadic move inside.
Yes. Well, they continue to do what's been going good for Seattle. They continue now in this fourth quarter to go inside. That's what's been going good for them all afternoon.
Chambers and the foul on McMillan. His 3rd.
Well, we were talking about that inside game, and here's Shawn Kemp bumping Charles back and then spinning on him. Man, a la Eddie Johnson. Well, the move right here is created by the bump. Watch the 2 bumps here. Once he feels his body, he's going to spin left. Good move.
Genuine Draft presents Genuine Moments.
This Miller moment takes us back through the Sonics' route to the Western Finals, starting Game 5 over the Utah Jazz, their opening series. Second round against the Houston Rockets, Ricky Pierce sent the deciding 7th game to overtime. And then the Sonics will be keyed by Sam Perkins. Perkins would help with his threes to secure this state with the Suns. In recognition of this moment, Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Coach George Karl, there's his 10-year-old son, Kobe. One of the rights of being the head coach's son, you get to be one of the ball boys down at the end. Named after Kobe Dietrich, who played pro ball, most of it the ABA, some 12, 13 years. Teammate at Carl's with San Antonio. Barkley, almost an air ball.
And the crowd, you know they love it here. Look at him.
Yeah, he says, I agree. Yeah. He's able to laugh at himself.
Yes. The last couple of possessions they had something going to the basket, that being the Phoenix Suns. That time they set up for, basket jam by Shawn Kemp. Got this crowd back in a frenzy again. Phoenix needs to keep going to the basket, keep driving. And Seattle's playing their game. They've been playing it all afternoon.
Boy, the Rain Man with a thunderbolt for his 18th point.
Well, here's Charles for that three-pointer.
That was a drizzle there.
Look at him. Look at his face reaction. He knows. And the crowd is on him, and he knew he just had to just shake his own head.
Chambers looking for his 14th point.
And then we come back with the Shawn Kemp Monster Jam. Oh yeah, he said.
He's only 23 years young, Shawn Kemp. What a future. Chambers gets 1 out of 2, and it's Seattle by a dozen. 9 minutes to go. 9 minutes for Seattle to draw even at 2 games each.
But you can see now in the first half, Seattle, Phoenix did not double team the postman. Now in the second, in this quarter, they double teaming the postman now.
Perkins forcing that shot to beat the 24-second clock. Barkley has it knocked away by Barrows, and Barrows fights it, gets it again. He earned this one. And pushing foul underneath, I think, on Eddie Johnson.
No, Sam Perkins. Good call. Good call that time.
Perkins' foul is his fourth. Danny Ainge comes in for Phoenix.
Now in the first half, they played Sam Perkins straight up. But now in the second half, they decided to go double team on him. And they really did an excellent job of causing a turnover here by Sam Perkins. But you can see the difference. Coach Paul Westphal decided now to double team the post up.
Ainge well short on his three-point try. McMillan goes all the way. Seattle by 14. It's a team that plays well when they're in a frenzy, and that's how they have operated this second half, the Sonics. And they've forced the Suns to think about shooting quickly, and Marley delivers there, only his 10th point.
And see, that wasn't an easy shot. See, the Phoenix Suns are not getting any easy shots, whereas on the other end, the Seattle SuperSonics are getting a lot of easy dunks and layups.
And to call that on Barkley, his 5th, a taste of his own medicine. Perkins bodying him into the basket,
This is what Charles Barkley normally does to other players, and Sam is bodying him, bumping him off, and then causing the contact and gets a foul.
And Barkley can't really argue because he'd be arguing against his whole career.
That's right. That's why he's smiling.
Perkins with 15 today.
See, George Karl says he doesn't worry about his team making adjustments, but teams worry about his team. Well, today he made a major adjustment and he went inside. He said, okay, we don't want jump shots today. We want inside post-up shots today. And Charles Barkley goes out, and I think Westphal is sensing that maybe he needs a quicker team, a team that can maybe get up and down the court, cause some turnovers, and that's why maybe he took Charles out.
Barkley sitting in Yakima now. Oliver Miller in the game. Marley asks for the 3 and delivers. 97-86, 13 for Marley, his 3rd trade today. Led the league during the regular season. 3 points made and attempted. Perkins, that's a 2. 99-86. Perkins leads Seattle with 19. A steal. McMillan. That's traveling. Perkins had a running start before he put the ball on the floor. And with that, a timeout. Just under 7 minutes to go. Paul Westphal's Suns trail by 13. Here's Irvin at the magic pad.
Well, Shawn Kemp was talking about inside out in the interview. Here's Shawn Kemp. Sam Perkins going to pass inside to him, and then Sam's going to cut to the basket, but then he's going to see Shawn that does not have the layup, and he's going to bounce back out for the jump shot.
That's what Kemp is saying. First inside, but if there's nothing there, then outside.
Yes.
Not the reverse.
Exactly. Good offense by Seattle.
Seattle, you said, 35% the key. They're currently shooting 53 in the game, and another turnover. Watch out. Here comes Kemp winding it up. And it's picked away by Phoenix.
Good move. Good hands by Dan Majerle to knock it off of Shawn Kemp. But right now, Seattle just got Phoenix and sniper. They're not getting any flow in their offense, and they're not getting anything going to the basket. Matter of fact, in this half, they stopped Kevin Johnson from penetrating.
Long three attempt by Majerle.
They're not getting them layups and dunks like they had in the first half, that being Phoenix.
And with a double-digit deficit, they're thinking long range, and that usually means one shot. Eddie Johnson knocked away by Majerle. And Johnson with a loose ball foul. His third.
Well, what happened here is that Eddie Johnson is not used to posting up, so Dan Majerle, who was an excellent defender, knocked the ball. Then Eddie Johnson is going after the ball, fouled Danny Ainge.
Well, Phoenix won for the last 8 from three-point range after they were 5 for 8 in the first half. Yes, three-point gunners in there, Majerle and Ainge. Majerle, he ran out of room. There was no hole there, and he gets the ball, and going down is Sam Perkins. Third hit him in the right knee.
Well, here it is again. Dan Majerle trying to go to the basket, and Sam Perkins going to come right here to challenge him, and just ran right into his knee.
Looked like knee on knee, didn't it?
Right here again. Here's the look. Yeah, knee right on knee. Good call, Dick. It was just that.
So Perkins able to stay in, and Majerle as well. That's the difference.
See, the problem though with Phoenix on offense is that there's still only one man can create this shot, and that's KJ.
Steve Jones has this report.
I'll take it, guys. All right, Paul Westphal in the last 2 possessions is trying to get a 3-point field goal for Oliver Miller. He feels that Majerle and Ainge are going to be well covered. Miller, who has deep range, can shoot the ball, but they can't get the penetration set up for Kevin Johnson.
All right, thanks, Steve. And meanwhile, Shawn Kemp and Mark West involved in a double foul. That's 5 on Kemp. 3 on West. So McKee now in and Perkins out.
Well, you can see they bumping and pulling and hitting each other, and Jake O'Donnell said, let's clean this up a little bit.
No more ball.
Yes.
99-86. Neither team able to score in the last 2 minutes. Kemp is short, but gets it back, and he's fouled. Miller thought he had a block. Here comes Sir Charles back in.
But, you know, the more aggressive teams most of the time get called, and Seattle's been the more aggressive team this afternoon. That's why they've been going to the free throw line more than the Phoenix Suns.
Barkley, a little visit with a fan. Inside information, and that one hits the century mark for Seattle, 100-86. Barkley welcome back as Mark West goes out. That's 20 points for Shawn Kemp. Time running out on Phoenix. 5 minutes plus. Miller, and he was fouled. Give you an idea how much wingspan Oliver Miller has. Told us yesterday, 91 inches. That's his wing spread.
Well, here you're going to have Danny Ainge and Oliver Miller running pick and roll. Good pass from Danny Ainge. Now, that time they did something different. It wasn't KJ anymore. They finally put in Danny Ainge put Danny Ainge out of the middle into the pick and roll, and it paid off for him.
His 5th point today. 91 inches. That's 7 feet 7 inches. Usually a man's height equals his wingspan. That means if you put Manute Bol down, that Oliver could put his one finger on the tip of his head and the other at the tip of his toes. That's how far he can reach.
No wonder he blocked shots so well.
14-point lead as the Sonics go for their second win of this series and reduce it to a best of 3. Game 5 in Phoenix Tuesday night. Eddie Johnson. Barkley. That was not a good choice. Seattle was just waiting for that long pass. Here's Johnson scoring. Eddie with 9. It's almost as if Barkley wants to do too much.
Yeah, and Eddie Johnson just got called for a technical foul, and Hugh Hollins thought that he was trying to throw the ball at Oliver Miller. And here we're going to see it right here that Eddie Johnson, after scoring the basket, he had the ball in his hand, and he felt that Oliver had pushed him, so he threw the ball. There's Danny Ainge knocking the free throw down off the technical. Here it is right here. Eddie's going to take it to the basket here. Now, after it's over, he catches the ball, and Oliver pushes him out of bounds, and then Eddie retaliated by throwing the ball, and Hugh Hollins felt he tried to throw it at Oliver Miller and called a technical foul.
Now that'll give him something to write about. He has a column here during the playoffs out of the newspapers. McMillan goes down in a crowd, and I believe that's going to be on Oliver Miller, yes. His 3rd. And when he raises his hand, that's up high.
Yeah. Way up high. And he's a big man, too. Not only does he have that wide span, but he also is a big man.
6'9", but if you're trying to shoot against him, he's 7'7" standing. This is how Seattle racked up the 4th most wins in the league, tying Houston behind Phoenix, New York, and Chicago. Turnovers to points.
They played their game all afternoon.
4 minutes, 10 seconds to go. McMillan. Rebound Barkley. Less than 4 to go, a 15-point span.
You got to go to Charles Barkley.
Marley hits the 3, and they'll need a lot of those to get back in it. 103 to 90. Marley was 16.
If they go to Charles Barkley, he'll be able to command the double team and get them more 3-point opportunities.
The veteran Ainge making a big defensive play. Goes the distance and is blocked. Shawn Kemp rejects another. Eddie Johnson can't handle the long pass, and Frank Johnson goes down, and for Kemp, that would be his 6th if it's on number 40. He's gone.
Well, here's the block again. Danny Ainge thinks he has a layup, and Shawn Kemp comes over and blocks another shot.
4 blocks today for Kemp. He led Seattle with 20 points, 8 rebounds as he leaves with 6 fouls.
And the fans are giving him a standing ovation, and they should. He has been the key, not only offensively, but defensively as well. Even though he's fouled out, he's made some great blocks and changed a lot of shots.
The other part that you like, Magic, for a 23-year-old, he was saying before the game, hey, give it to me. Let me try. Take it inside. Let me prove what I can do. And he came up with some good answers for Seattle.
But finally, he's being the leader that everybody on Seattle team wants him to become. And he's saying, hey, I'm the leader, bring the ball to me, I'm going to help us win this game. And so far, he's done just that.
Now they'll have to do it without him, and with 5 quick points, the Suns have pulled within 10. Johnson scores, and he is fouled by Oliver Miller.
That was a big possession right there. Here it comes back again. And what happened is the double team comes on Derek McKee, and Eddie Johnson slid right in between the defender got the ball, took it up strong.
Got to be happy for this veteran Johnson, who has struggled so desperately. Now with 12 points today, he had scored 11 in the first 3 games total.
And what had happened to him, he put a lot of pressure on himself. He's writing that column like you had mentioned earlier. And fans wanted him to quit writing the column and concentrate on basketball.
Barkley, errant from 3-point range. 2-on-1 now, Johnson and Perkins, and Johnson with a charge. Frank Johnson had good position. Timeout with 2:48 to go. Seattle by 13. Movies all on NBC. Another 3-point miss and out of bounds to Seattle. The Sonics by 13 and 2:39 to go. Game 5 in Phoenix Tuesday night. And if Seattle wins Game 6 here Thursday night, both will be brought to you in prime time by NBC, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock in the West. And Majerle trying to hawk McKee gets his second foul.
Well, if McKee makes these 2, what I would do at some point, if I was Paul Westphal, I would pull out for Charles Barkley, almost all your starters out, to make them sit here and look at this game and get mad and upset over what has happened. To get ready.
So
for
that was a
Tuesday.
punishment Riley would do to you, bring you out and make you watch your team lose?
Right, make us watch the game to get us upset and get us ready for the next game. Yeah, it's like not punishment, but a mind game, just to plant a seed into your head to say, hey, see what happened? They were more aggressive. They attacked you now. You know what you have to do in the next game.
19 for Derek McKee today. Another miss at the Phoenix end.
Much like what Phil Jackson did to the Chicago Bulls in Game 2, where he made them watch it and made them get ready for Game 3, and they really came out ready.
They were ready. Before that series, the Bulls and Knicks tomorrow on Memorial Day on NBC at 3 o'clock Eastern. Foul on Frank Johnson. There are 2 faces that you know well, and oh, how they can play this game, and in such differing fashion. Tuesday night, these faces and more. And apparently, it'll be the start of best 2 out of 3. Out goes Eddie Johnson. These fans doing everything they can to pick him up. He had 12 points break out of his slump.
And give the 6-man award to the fans, too, for bringing Eddie out of his slump and also getting Dana Burrows going, too, as well. Now, Paul Westphal did exactly what I was talking about. He took all those guys out, and he's making them look and watch at this game and say, hey, okay, this is what we have to do Tuesday night.
Michael Cage hits the side of the board, but gets it back and scores. Barkley left with 27 after a 23-point first half. So he's had 2 terrible second halves here in Seattle. Frank Johnson misses. Oliver Miller rams it home. Barkley scored 2 points Friday night, 4 points today, 6 points in what amounts to a full game if you count just the second half. That's not a good sign for Phoenix.
Well, I don't blame him for this game. Now, Friday, they were up, they were playing well, the bench played well, but today is the team fault for not getting him the ball and let him create some offense, that being Charles Barkley, not only for himself, but for his teammates, because what happens is a lot of guys on Phoenix team cannot make their own shot, and Charles becomes more important because he can do that.
Vincent Askew with 4 quick points.
And right here, Paul Westphal runs a 22nd, but nobody saw him. He's trying to holler now, 22nd, but nobody's looking at him.
Why 20 seconds now when you're down by 17 points?
Well, it's a good move just to get his team to look at what's going on, make them even more upset that they lost this game and the way they lost it, and get them ready for Tuesday.
Steve Scheffler, the left-hander from Purdue, he's
George Karl's victory cigar. He's just finished cheering Scheffler, number 55, in the post. Michael Cave, certainly not known for that range. Line drives in an 18-footer.
But Dick, when the team is playing well, guys like that can make jump shots from the outside because it's been going good for your team all afternoon. Now, George Karl made his adjustment for game 4. He said, okay, no more jump shots. We're going inside first, and then we'll take the open jump shot. Now it's Paul Westphal's turn to make his adjustment for game number 4, and we'll see what happens Tuesday night if Phoenix can adjust to what Seattle did this afternoon.
That was Gerald Patio at the Seattle end, and Miguel Knight, who's seen very little action in the series, scores for Phoenix. 118-101, final seconds. A victory for Seattle that makes this as wide open as the Seattle's play. Scheffler can't get it to drop. Third time it's in. And now they can really celebrate. Every Seattle SuperSonics scored for George Karl. Impressive 120-101 victory. Karl said if we win this one, it'll be a war. Best 2 of 3. And we'll talk to the victorious Sonics when we return to the Coliseum. Phoenix, its worst loss of these 93 playoffs, a 19-point victory. Eddie Johnson was unhappy. He usually very garrulous and cooperative. Didn't want to talk to us yesterday, but he will today. Snapper?
All right, Dick Enberg, yes, Eddie is talking, but he's talking more because the team won. First, let's talk about the team. The game plan was totally different in this game than it was in any other. It seemed like you were concentrating all afternoon, pounded inside.
We were trying to take advantage of mismatches. If they're going to play Cedric Sabalas and Richard Dumas on Derek McKee, we're going to keep throwing Derek the ball and get out of his way. He came out very aggressive, and I think that dictated the tempo for the rest of the game.
All right, Eddie Johnson finally got off the snide. After not drawing, what did you think about coming into this ball game?
Just to try to concentrate and just go out and play my game. I think I was a little too hard on myself lately and just trying to force the issue, and I got in trouble. When I play wild and crazy, that's when I get into the game. And I tried to penetrate and create some things to try to get fouled, and that happened. And my teammates just tried to get me the ball. They supported me. All my family and friends supported me from around the country, and it helped me today.
All right, wild and crazy. That's what we'll look for on Tuesday night, Dick.
And Eddie Johnson will be going home to Phoenix, and we'll be back. Magic Johnson will get his feelings about what'll happen with 3 games to go. Seattle's best shooting game, 54% in the victory. Okay, what's ahead? Game 5.
Well, I look for Charles Barkley to be a dominant force on the offense for the Phoenix Suns.
Don't forget, tomorrow it'll be game 4, the Knicks and the Bulls from Chicago. Now for our director, John Gonzalez, our